Chapter 60. Ning Qing put away the flying sword, and stood in the same place as he sent out a punch. He was able to perceive a trace of killing chi left behind by the great axe, which made him eager to try out the might of this axe. But the flying sword was really not easy to use, so he simply used his fist as a giant axe. Bang! Ning Cheng's axe fist was filled with a murderous aura, as it directly blasted away the residual killing intent in front of him, causing a muffled sound to ring out. The murderous aura that lingered in the surroundings was like mud that had been blasted apart, splashing in all directions. Although the killing intent would still surge back, it was no longer as sharp as before. Ha ha! Ning Qing laughed, as he took a step forward and raised his hand to grab the handle of the broken spear. That's all. He comprehended a trace of the great axe's killing chi, and then used his own great axe fists to blow away the remaining killing chi in the surroundings, and felt incomparably comfortable. Of course, he knew that the great axe's murderous chi that was left here at the moment was not even a millionth of the great axe's murderous chi, but at least at this time, this remnant murderous chi had already been blown away by his fist. What's more, he was using his self-created fist axe. It was precisely because he had used his axe fist to blast away the residual great axe killing chi, that he could say that it was just so. In Ning Cheng's view, a truly powerful expert, even if they had walked away for countless years, the traces of their murderous aura would not dissipate so easily. As for the two people fighting here, it was obvious that they hadn't left for long. The murderous aura at the scene of the fight had dissipated by 99%. After a while, the murderous aura here would disappear completely. Even if Ning Qing knew that compared to the others, the disparity between them was like heaven and earth, but after he comprehended two kinds of killing intents, he still felt somewhat disapproving of it. While laughing, Ning Qing had already stimulated his chi, and reached out to pull out the broken spear. A powerful aura immediately flooded Ning Cheng's senses. It felt as if the long spear in his hand could blow apart the surrounding heaven and earth. At this moment, the entire world seemed to be under his control, although Ning Qing knew that it was an illusion, but he was still overjoyed in his heart. As soon as he held the spear in his hand, the heavy feeling in his hand made it clear that this spear was more suitable for him than the flying sword. The spear was nearly 8 feet long, but to Ning Cheng's regret, this spear was not only broken in half, even the spearhead was broken in half. Even if that was the case, Ning Qing could still feel that this long spear was not simple. Ning Qing did not change places at all, and directly stayed in the same place, as he began to refine the long spear. As Ning Qing refined the restrictions, the powerful aura lingering around the long spear gradually weakened. Not knowing how much time had passed, Ning Qing once again stood up and raised his spear, before thrusting it out. The surrounding air buzzed from the shot, as if a thin willow branch was rapidly brushing through the air. After the spear stabbed out, the air in front of the spear was completely separated. The next moment, Ning Cheng's spearhead trembled, bringing out 12 spear shadows. These spear shadows looked like a sparse spear net that completely covered the space in front of them. The surroundings instantly turned cold. The cold was like a viscous liquid, causing the movements of those who were in it to become much more sluggish. The profound 36 ice spears, this was the real profound 36 ice spears. Ning Qing was pleasantly surprised in his heart. He had used his long spear to display the 36 profound ice spear technique. Whether it was the imposing manner or the power, it was far from being comparable to the flying sword. At this moment in Ning Cheng's heart, this 36 profound ice spear technique could only be described with one word: powerful. Putting away the long spear, Ning Cheng's imposing manner rose. If he had to face Miao Li who was at the Qi-gathering 4th level, he was confident that he would not even need to use the 7 Pleiades ice needle, and would be able to kill the opposite party. Unfortunately, the long spear was broken, and was unable to stabilize its quality. When Ning Qing held it in his hands, he felt that it was just a low-grade artifact. When he thrust it out with his spear, he felt that the quality of the long spear had risen to that of a medium-grade artifact. But when he blasted out the 36 profound ice spear technique, this broken spear seemed to have become a high-grade artifact. Ning Qing did not have the slightest doubt that once he displayed an even more fearsome spear technique, this broken spear might even become a spiritual artifact of the lowest grade. From this, Ning Qing inferred that this broken spear, before it was broken, it was absolutely a top-grade artifact that was above the spiritual artifact. Moreover, the refining technique used to refine it was not ordinary. Even if the broken spear was destroyed, the remaining restrictions were still able to maintain the usability of the artifact. Ning Qing had not come into contact with many artifacts, but he had read some records about them. If an ordinary artifact was broken, then it would be very difficult to use it again, and would have to be repaired before it could be used again. Although this spear was broken, but it could still be used, it showed that the refining method used to refine this spear was different from the ordinary artifacts. Ning Qing found a blue cloth and wrapped it around the broken spear, and tied it to his back. This spear was broken, although it could still be refined, but it could not be compared to a flying sword. A flying sword could be controlled with his spiritual sense, but the size of a broken spear could not be changed. Moreover, Ning Cheng's storage bag only had a little more than a meter of space, but this broken spear was already more than 2 meters long. Besides carrying it on his back, Ning Cheng could only hold it in his hands. Having already comprehended the two kinds of killing intents in this crisscrossing ravine, Ning Cheng used his fastest speed to cross this place. Looking back at the large battlefield that he had left behind, Ning Cheng couldn't help but think in his heart that this kind of opportunity really required luck and strength. He had crossed the Dawn Forest, and had unexpectedly obtained a long spear, and had also comprehended the two kinds of killing intents. His fighting strength had once again soared. If this was not an opportunity, then what was it? "Auntie, I don't agree." Ji Luofei faced Ji Yaohe and replied without hesitation. Not to mention that her and Ning Cheng's engagement had not been dissolved, she had also promised Ning Cheng that she would never marry anyone else in this life. Even if there were no such things, she did not intend to marry anyone else. At this moment, in her heart, there was only cultivation and cultivation. In the future, when her cultivation was high enough, she wanted to go to the Dawn Forest, and see why her parents could not come out of the Dawn Forest. Now that her auntie actually wanted her to marry East Water Country's Shui clan's Shui Yu, she did not even think about it, and flatly refused. Ji Yaohe immediately frowned, and tried to slow down her tone as much as possible and said, "Luo Fei, the Shui clan is one of the 7 major clans of the Hua continent, moreover they even have a profound core cultivator. That Shui Yu is the #1 genius of the Shui clan. What does our Ji clan have? Now there are only the 2 of us. Your spiritual root is only a dual spiritual root. If you can marry into the Shui clan, then you will definitely be able to reach a higher level in the future. Otherwise, even if we were in the Falling Star Academy, it would be very difficult for us to take a step forward." Pausing for a moment, Ji Yaohe continued to earnestly persuade her, "Besides, you are also disfigured. With the Shui clan's ability, in the future you will definitely be able to go to the intermediate class continent, the Jia continent. Once you could go to the Jia continent, would you still be afraid that you would not be able to restore your appearance? Moreover, that Shui Yu's spiritual root qualification is even better than yours. He is not even 30 years old, but already has the cultivation of true condensation 6th level. This kind of person, even in the Falling Star Academy, there were not many. Why don't you agree?" "Auntie, I already have a husband. It's impossible for me to do anything to the Shui family. What's more, I am already disfigured. In this life, other than looking for my parents, I do not have any other thoughts. I ask auntie to go back to the Shui clan." Ji Luofei spoke in a categorical manner. Ji Yaohe, on hearing Ji Luofei's words, stood up in anger. "Luofei, do you know what the consequences of rejecting the Shui clan are? It is absolutely impossible for us to continue staying in the Falling Star Academy. If we leave the Falling Star Academy, where else do you think we can go? That Ning Ching simply does not have a spiritual root. In a few decades, he would just be a pile of yellow soil. Do you really want to guard that yellow soil?" Ji Luofei also slowly stood up, and said in a tone without even half a shred of emotion, "Auntie, I and Ning Cheng have lived together for more than 10 years. At that time when I knew that he had died in prison, when I carried him back, I did not feel even half a shred of sadness. When he woke up on my back, I did not feel even half a shred of joy. But now, I suddenly understand, he and I are closer. Ji Luofei finished speaking. Without saying another word, she slowly walked out of the room. Her heart was very sad. Before Ning Cheng really was not a good thing, but after coming out of prison, he unexpectedly left a trace in her heart. If it was Ning Cheng, would he, for his own sake, let her marry into the Shui clan? Her auntie had left Ning Cheng in the Changqing province. How could Ji Luofei not know that it was like using a borrowed knife to kill someone? But she was powerless to change anything. Her cultivation level was too low. She could only wait for her own cultivation level to be high enough, and then go to see Ning Cheng. If he died, then she would wear mourning clothes for him. If he was still alive, then she would wish him a better life. She could also continue to look for her parents. She did not hate Ji Yaohe because she wanted to use a borrowed knife to kill Ning Cheng. After all, she was her auntie. What she did was for her. But today, she found that she seemed to have thought wrong. In the face of benefits, her auntie still did not consider her feelings. Why must she stay in the Falling Star Academy? Could it be that she could not stay in the Falling Star Academy? Don't be nervous, come with me, just listen to me. Ning Cheng's words were something that she could never forget. If Ji Yaohe was not her auntie, and treated Ning Cheng like this, she would have already left the Falling Star Academy. Luofei, you know my qualifications. After you leave, remember to avenge me. This was what Ning Cheng had said to her when he told her to escape. Ji Luofei seemed to have returned to the Changqing province. She suddenly felt that her auntie and Ning Cheng's auntie were not the same concept. It was like Ning Cheng only had a single gold coin, while her auntie had countless spirit stones. Her auntie gave her a spirit stone that was several times more expensive than a gold coin. But Ning Cheng actually gave her the only gold coin. If this was the end, then she would feel a bit better in her heart. After all, her auntie was her blood relative. But as her own auntie, she actually turned around and asked her for this gold coin. At this moment, she finally felt that Ning Cheng, compared to her auntie, seemed to be closer. Ji Luofei walked out of the room, turned around and bowed towards the room behind her, and then quickened her pace. She had to leave this place. For her, if even her auntie became a stranger, then there was no point in staying here. Chapter 61. A few monstrous beasts roared and a sword light soared into the sky. It made Ning Cheng, who was still rushing through the dawn forest, to stop, as he carefully hid to one side. This was the scene of a fight between a human and a monstrous beast. Ning Cheng did not think that in the depths of the dawn forest, other than himself, there would be other people. This was already the 12th day since he had obtained the broken spear. According to Ning Cheng's plan, as long as the map was not wrong, he would be able to get out of the dawn forest in about a month. At this time, he actually came across some people fighting with the monstrous beasts in the dawn forest. Ning Cheng certainly did not think that this person who was fighting against the monstrous beasts could be compared to the person who had left behind the broken spear. However, those who could survive here would not be simple. To be able to fight with monstrous beasts in this place, Ning Cheng did not think that the other party was anything special. When he was at the intermediate stages of the Qi-gathering realm, didn't he also survive by the side of the clear water lake for a few months? In the dawn forest, as long as one has a certain level of strength, as long as one does not encroach on the territory of the other monstrous beasts, one would be able to survive. A few more sword lights surged out. Some of the true essence fluctuations could be felt by Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng knew that the person fighting with the monstrous beast was at least a true condensation cultivator. Not long after, the sword light dissipated and the demonic beast's roar also disappeared. The battle should be over. Qi Hua, why are you here? A low and deep voice of a man reached Ning Cheng's ears. Following this, a clear and pleasant voice replied, I was a little worried about you, so I came to take a look. Oh, it was a woman, but before the woman could finish her sentence, her mouth seemed to be gagged. It was probably the two of them being intimate. Originally it was a pair of lovers living in this place. Ning Cheng shook his head. He did not want to continue to see who these two people were. Since the man was a true condensation cultivator, then the woman should also be a true condensation cultivator. A man and a woman staying in the Dawn Forest, whether or not they were lost, Ning Qing did not want to ask about it. He was only at Qi Gathering 9th level, even if he was confident that he was not weaker than an ordinary true condensation cultivator, but he was already very close to the Yuan continent, who knew if the opposite party was an ordinary true condensation cultivator. Moreover, there were two of them. Besides, these two people had been living in the Dawn Forest for a long time, so they definitely had rich fighting experience. There was no need for him to join in on the fun. Just when Ning Cheng was about to leave, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. He was very familiar with the name, Qi Hua, as such Ning Cheng was sure that he had heard these two words before. Ning Cheng put an end to the idea of leaving. He waited for a while in the same place, making sure that the two of them had already walked far away, only then did he carefully lurk towards them. Soon, he arrived at the scene of the fight. There were still some bloodstains and claw marks left on the scene, and the traces left by several sword gleams were also clearly visible. According to the fighting scene, it should be a fight between a true condensation cultivator and a low-leveled monstrous beast. In the end, the demonic beast was killed and taken away. Checking the traces in the vicinity, Ning Cheng found the direction in which the two people had left, and cautiously followed them. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng found that the traces that he had been tracking had abruptly disappeared, and in front of him seemed to be an ordinary forest. Ning Cheng carefully examined the surroundings, and soon came to understand that this place was an array formation. Moreover, it should be close to a level 3 concealment array formation. Ning Cheng was a grade 2 array formation master, as such he only had to study this array formation for a while, before he understood what was going on. In less than 10 breaths of time, Ning Cheng passed through the array formation, and in front of him was a large verdant green place. It almost made Ning Cheng think that he had arrived at a paradise. There were a few very beautiful-looking wooden houses built in the middle of the green space. In front of the green space there was a bamboo forest. In the middle of the bamboo forest there was a small path. At the end of the path was a large lake. There were more than a dozen wild cranes swimming around in the lake. How was this the Dawn Forest? This was clearly a paradise. Compared to the tree hole that he used to live in, this place was simply heaven and hell. A woman wearing a green robe came out of the wooden house. She was carrying a bamboo basket in her hands. Inside the bamboo basket there were some green wild vegetables. Ning Cheng quickly took a few steps forward, and hid at the edge of the bamboo forest. Looking at the woman's cultivation from a distance, he could tell that she should be at true condensation 3rd level. Ning Cheng could only see the woman's silhouette from the side, but when the green-robed woman passed through the bamboo forest, and arrived at the edge of the lake, Ning Cheng could clearly see her appearance. In just an instant, Ning Cheng knew where he had heard the two words Qi Hua. The eyes of the woman in front of him and his former fiancé Ji Luo Fei were 70% similar. Not only that, even the shape of the face was somewhat similar. It was just that Ji Luo Fei's face was disfigured. Ning Cheng believed that if Ji Luo Fei was not disfigured, then they would be even more similar. He had heard the name, Qi Hua, from Ji Luo Fei's mouth. He remembered that Ji Luo Fei had said that her father was called Ji Xianzhang, and her mother was called Xiong Qi Hua. Ning Cheng was almost certain that this woman was Xiong Qi Hua, that is, Ji Luo Fei's mother. Was the man who had killed the monstrous beast Ji Luo Fei's father, Ji Xianzhang? But Ning Cheng's intuition told him that that man was not Ji Xianzhang. Ning Cheng was shocked by his own thoughts. If that man was not Ji Xianzhang, then wouldn't Xiong Qi Hua have an affair with Ji Luo Fei's father? Moreover, she was still in the Dawn Forest. He knew that Ji Luo Fei's parents had disappeared in the Dawn Forest, and then her grandfather had brought her to the Changqing province. If this woman was Xiong Qi Hua, then it meant that Ji Luo Fei's mother was not dead. Since she was not dead, then why did she not leave this place and go to the Changqing province to look for her daughter? After the green-robed woman came to the lake, she took out a bamboo basket filled with wild vegetables, and threw them into the lake. The red-crowned cranes floating in the lake swam over, and began to snatch the wild vegetables. Qi Hua, there are not many wild cranes left. wait for me to get a piece of land, then we can plant some more." The man came out of the wooden house. He had not even come close to the green-robed woman, when he spoke from a distance. But his voice was low, which made Ning Qing feel extremely uncomfortable when he heard it. However, when Ning Qing saw the appearance of this person, he secretly admired him in his heart. He was confident that he was not ugly, and even somewhat handsome. But compared to this person, he found that his appearance was really ordinary. Ning Qing had never seen a person as handsome as the man in front of him, with a straight nose, bright eyes, and delicate eyebrows that were even more delicate than a woman's. If not for his voice being too unpleasant to listen to, this person would simply be perfect. The green-robed woman called Qihua showed a faint smile and stood up. "Hongwen, thank you." Sure enough, he is not Ji Luofei's father, Ning Qing thought in his heart. He knew that Ji Luofei's father was called Ji Xianzhang, and was definitely not Hongwen. "Qihua, you stayed in the Dawn Forest for me. I, Zhu Hongwen, will definitely not do anything for you. As long as you can be happy, even if it takes my life, I will not even frown." The handsome man called Zhu Hongwen said without hesitation. The green-robed woman quickly reached out to stop Zhu Hongwen, but she had just stretched out her hand, when Zhu Hongwen pulled her into his arms. Seeing that Zhu Hongwen's hand was about to reach into the green-robed woman's robe, the green-robed woman suddenly gasped and said, "Not here, it's still daytime." Zhu Hongwen kissed the forehead of the green-robed woman, and softly said, "There are only the two of us here, even if we do something, we will not. Who is it?" Zhu Hongwen suddenly let go of the green-robed woman, while at the same time a flying sword appeared in his hands, as he stared in the direction of Ning Qing. Ning Qing slowly stood up, while in his heart he was cursing his bad luck. Seeing his mother-in-law having an affair, but when he wanted to leave, he was discovered. If this was not bad luck, then what was it? When he was sure that the woman in front of him was Xiong Qihua, he did not want to stay here anymore. In the future, if he could go to the Falling Star Academy and see Ji Luofei, then he would tell Ji Luofei that her mother was in the Dawn Forest. Regardless of whether Ji Luofei's mother had an affair or not, it was a matter of the Ji clan, and had nothing to do with him. Although he was discovered, Ning Qing was not afraid. That person called Zhu Hongwen was only at true condensation 4th level. He believed that even if he could not beat the opposite party, he would still be able to escape. "How did you come in?" When the green-robed woman saw that someone really came in, her face immediately turned white. Even her whole body began to tremble. "Qihua, you do not have to be afraid, he is just a qi-gathering brat, I will go and kill him." Zhu Hongwen comforted the green-robed woman, and directly flew towards Ning Qing to block his way out. At this time, he did not want to talk nonsense with Ning Qing. His entire body was overflowing with killing intent. The flying sword in his hands was already wrapped in a formidable killing intent as it flew towards Ning Qing. The sword light was several feet long. It was far more powerful than when he had fought against the Class 2 monstrous beast. However, in Ning Qing's view, these sword lights were mostly flashy, just like his previous sword lights. Although they looked good, they could only scare people who did not understand. At the same time as the sword light arrived, the broken spear on Ning Qing's back had already fallen into his hands, and he immediately shot out with his spear. The broken spear carried a murderous aura and instantly shattered Zhu Hongwen's murderous sword aura. After tearing apart the sword aura's murderous aura, it directly arrived in front of Zhu Hongwen. Spear intent. Zhu Hongwen's soul almost jumped out of his body. He had never thought that a qi-gathering cultivator would be so fearsome. He even comprehended a trace of spear intent. Did he cultivate a spear technique from birth? Otherwise, how could a qi-gathering cultivator comprehend a spear intent? It turned out that this was not a killing intent, but rather a spear intent. Ning Qing at this time realized that the two killing intents that he had comprehended were actually two different kinds of killing intents. But his hands were not slow at all, and the spear was about to explode on Zhu Hongwen's chest. Zhu Hongwen's chest suddenly caved in, and the flying sword in his hands, as if it had eyes, appeared on the tip of Ning Qing's spear. Ding! A loud and crisp sound rang out, causing both Ning Qing and Zhu Hongwen to simultaneously take a few steps back. Chapter 62. Ning Cheng's fighting experience was also very rich. He knew that his cultivation level was not as good as Zhu Hongwen. The longer the fight dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. The reason why he was able to fight evenly with Zhu Hongwen was because his spiritual sense was much stronger than Zhu Hongwen's. So when Ning Cheng was forced back by Zhu Hongwen's true essence, he simply did not have any delay, and once again rushed forward. At the same time the spear in his hands transformed into 12 ice-cold spear shadows. These 12 ice-cold spear shadows instantly formed a spear net. The surrounding air seemed to have become very cold. The strong ice-cold spear intent directly cooled down Zhu Hongwen's fighting spirit. Zhu Hongwen's heart trembled. This was a profound grade spear technique, moreover it was a profound grade ice spear technique. To be able to display an ice spear technique to such an extent, even if this person did not have an ice spiritual root, he would at least have an ice spiritual root. He did not understand whether Ning Cheng was a qi gathering cultivator or a true condensation cultivator. In the face of Ning Cheng's powerful spear technique, he did not have a defensive magical weapon. Other than dodging, he simply could not block it. Once he dodged, this powerful spear net would definitely follow him like a shadow. Even if he managed to escape, he would be seriously injured. Because in front of this powerful profound ice spear intent, giving up resistance would only make his speed even slower. These thoughts flashed through Zhu Hongwen's mind like lightning. He promptly made a judgment. The flying sword in his hands also transformed into a sword curtain. He could not retreat. If he retreated, then not only would he be defeated, he might even be killed. The sword curtain and the profound ice spear shadows collided. Woo-woo. This woo-woo sound was mixed with some ka-ka sounds. It was as if the surface of the ice was being broken. Puff puff puff. The profound ice spear shadows directly broke through the sword curtain. Several spear shadows passed through the sword curtain, and exploded on Zhu Hongwen's body, bringing forth 4 to 5 blood arrows. At the same time, Zhu Hongwen was also sent flying by Ning Cheng's attack. However, he felt a bit relieved, as he finally managed to preserve his life. Ning Cheng was secretly surprised in his heart. This Zhu Hongwen's cultivation was not as good as Miao Li Hu from the Mingot city, but on the contrary he was much stronger than Miao Li Hu. The 36 profound ice spear technique was already his most powerful spear technique. If the 36 profound ice spear technique could not kill Zhu Hongwen, then he could only use the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Ning Cheng did not dare to use the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Moreover, there was still a woman at the true condensation 3rd level beside him. The 7 Pleiades ice needle's sneak attack had the best effect, but once it was known, the effect would be reduced by half. After all, his 7 Pleiades ice needle technique was far inferior to the 36 profound ice spear technique. The 7 Pleiades ice needle technique completely relied on his spiritual sense. Although Zhu Hongwen was seriously injured, but the long spear in Ning Cheng's hands did not slow down for even half a moment. The spear light converged, before it turned into a spear line and continued to blast towards Zhu Hongwen's glabella. This spear was filled with killing intent, and even the surrounding bamboos were pushed to the sides by this killing intent. To strike while the iron is hot, Ning Cheng was very clear about this point. Under Ning Cheng's terrifying spear intent, the pale-faced green-robed woman finally reacted. She immediately flew up, and at the same time, a circular shield appeared in her hand. She had never thought that Ning Cheng, a qi-gathering cultivator, would unexpectedly be powerful to this extent. A qi-gathering cultivator wanting to kill a true condensation 4th-level cultivator, she had never heard of such a thing before. Ning Cheng's spear light, which was filled with killing intent, collided with the green-robed woman's round shield, and immediately issued an explosive sound. The powerful true essence came back at him. Ning Cheng's spear light, which was filled with a strong killing intent, was completely dispersed by the round shield, and soon disappeared into thin air. Ning Cheng once again retreated a few steps, as he was shocked in his heart. He also did not think that this woman's cultivation was a level lower than Zhu Hongwen's, but her attack was actually a level stronger than Zhu Hongwen's. Ning Cheng's heart sank, as he slowly retreated to the edge of the array formation. It would be meaningless for him to continue fighting. If he was blocked by these two people with their full strength, then he really would not be able to escape. This woman seemed to know that Ning Cheng was going to leave, and immediately blocked Ning Cheng's path, while at the same time 5 flying swords began to circle around her. Hong Wen, help me kill him. The green-robed woman did not have that kind of demure demeanor from before. At this time her eyes were filled with a calm killing intent. Zhu Hongwen did not need this woman's reminder, as he forcibly stopped his injuries, and stared at Ning Cheng like a hungry wolf. Looking at the madness in his eyes, Ning Cheng knew that this person was ready to go all out. A person who could control 5 flying swords would definitely have a stronger spiritual sense than him. As such, Ning Cheng did not have the thought of continuing to tangle with this person. He raised the spear in his hands, and spoke in a sarcastic tone, Xiong Qi Hua, you cheated on your husband. Hiding in this place must be very free and unfettered, right? Ji Xianzhang must have been blind, to unexpectedly marry a woman like you. Maybe he had already been killed by you and your adulterer. For the sake of Ji Luofei's face, today I will not haggle with you. There will naturally be someone who will seek revenge on you. When the green-robed woman heard Ning Cheng's words, she suddenly became as dumb as a wooden chicken. Her face once again turned as white as a sheet of paper. Even the 5 flying swords revolving around her also powerlessly fell down. She only had one sentence in her heart. How did this person know who she was? How did he know what she had done? What the hell was going on? No wonder she did not understand. She had been living here for more than a decade. But Ning Cheng seemed to be less than 20 years old. How could he know about her family's matters? What made her even more panicked was that Ning Cheng said that he was looking at Ji Luofei's face. It was obvious that the relationship between this person and Ji Luofei was not shallow. While the green-robed woman was still in a state of panic, Ning Cheng had already rushed past her, leaving behind an afterimage, and in an instant he was already far away. In fact, when the green-robed woman was in a daze a moment ago, Ning Cheng had the opportunity to kill her. Ning Cheng was really looking at Ji Luofei's face. As such, he spared Xiong Qihua's life. Although Zhu Hongwen was also shocked by Ning Cheng's words, but he was already seriously injured, and could only helplessly watch Ning Cheng leave. He did not have even half a shred of ability to stop Ning Cheng. Who is he? How did he know about me? How did he know about Luofei? Is Luofei alright now? Xiong Qihua was still muttering to herself, as her complexion turned even paler. Zhu Hongwen stood on the side and softly comforted her. From this person's mouth, Luofei is certainly doing well. Qihua, you don't have to worry. Xiong Qihua acted as if she did not hear Zhu Hongwen's words. After muttering to herself for a while, she suddenly looked up and said, I want to go out. I want to see Luofei. Saying that, she also muttered to herself, if this person goes to Luofei and talks about me, Zhu Hongwen sighed. He knew Xiong Qihua's thoughts. If her daughter thought that her mother had killed her father, and was hiding in the Dawn Forest with her adulterer, what would her daughter do? Would she recognize her as her mother? He estimated that she would immediately draw her sword, right? I have a way to make Luofei not believe his words. Zhu Hongwen spoke in a low voice. What way? Xiong Qihua's eyes widened as she looked at Zhu Hongwen. As she spoke in a somewhat hurried tone, her pale face even had a trace of rosy color. If you see Luofei, regardless of whether Luofei already knows about this or not, you need to take the first step and tell her, this person took advantage of you, too. After Ning Cheng rushed out of the array formation, he found that the 2 people did not chase after him, and also slowed down his pace. In the Dawn Forest, he was not afraid of Xiong Qihua and Zhu Hongwen teaming up. He believed that the 2 of them would not dare to chase after him. Once he attracted a high-level demonic beast, he could just walk away and the 2 of them would still stay here. After leaving this place, Ning Cheng quickened his pace. He decided to go to the Yuan continent to see if he could find a true condensation pill to advance to the true condensation realm. When a true condensation realm cultivator was able to freely use their spiritual consciousness like him, Ning Cheng estimated that even if he used both of his ice spells together, he would not necessarily be able to defeat them. Xiong Qihua was such a true condensation cultivator. Even if the Qi-gathering cultivators were more powerful, but compared to the true condensation cultivators, there were still some essential differences. The true condensation cultivators use true essence, while the qi-gathering cultivators use true qi. The difference in strength was obvious. Ning Qing knew that, in fact, the real watershed in cultivation was not the qi-gathering realm and the true condensation realm, but the essence-building realm. Only after reaching the essence-building realm can one truly cast their foundation and become a cultivator. Ning Qing sped up, while simultaneously practicing his 36 profound ice spear technique. Since he couldn't raise his cultivation in the short term, he had to make up for it. Originally it would have taken a month's journey, but Ning Qing had only used less than a month to complete it. When Ning Qing looked up and saw the blue sky, as well as the empty wilderness, he let out a long sigh. After more than 2 months of trekking through the forest, this should be the land of the Yuan continent. Although he was still at the edge of the Dan forest, and was at the edge of the Yuan continent, Ning Qing could feel that the spiritual qi here was much better than the Ping continent. Ning Qing sorted out his things, and carefully wrapped the broken spear on his back, and prepared to bring out his flying sword to leave the edge of the Dan forest. A gray figure suddenly appeared more than 200 meters away from Ning Qing, and following this gray figure was a demon wolf that Ning Qing had killed too many times. After the demon wolf rushed out of the edge of the Dan forest, it seemed to feel that it was very dangerous outside, and gave up on continuing to chase the gray figure, and turned around to enter the Dan forest. This was a young man wearing a gray cultivator's robe. He seemed to know that the demon wolf would not continue to chase him. After rushing out of the Dan forest, he did not continue to run away, but rather walked towards Ning Qing. Ning Qing, seeing this, also did not continue to bring out his flying sword. He also wanted to ask for directions. This young man looked to be about the same age as him, and also had the cultivation of qi gathering 9th level. But he had a beard on his face, which made him look like he had gone through many vicissitudes of life, and seemed to be a bit older. This young man had a white face, and his whole body was covered with a faint bloody aura. There was an obvious scar on his face, which further accentuated his ferociousness. Ning Qing had been in the Dan forest for nearly a year, so when he came in contact with this kind of faint bloody murderous aura, he was able to feel it. He was sure that this young man had stayed in the Dan forest for a long time. Moreover, he was a decisive person. My name is Tai Shu Shi. I have been living in the Dan forest for a long time. This friend looks somewhat unfamiliar. Could it be that you have just arrived? This gray-robed young man looked to be extremely friendly, as he came over with a smile on his face and took the initiative to greet him. Chapter 63. My name is Ning Qing, and I have indeed just arrived here. Ning Qing cupped his fists, but did not say that he had come from the Ping continent through the Dan forest. Tai Shu Shi said with great interest, "This place is really good. I have been here for half a year, and have gained a lot." However, he didn't dare to go any deeper. Firstly, he was afraid of getting lost. Secondly, he was too weak to go alone. Since Brother Ning is able to come to the Dan forest, presumably you are also one of us. Ning Qing immediately understood the meaning of Tai Shu Shi's words. He wanted to go deep into the Dan forest to look for opportunities, but his strength was slightly worse, so he wanted to find a person to team up with. When he saw that he was also at the edge of the Dan forest, he came looking for him. Ning Qing had stayed in the Dan forest for a few months, and was fully aware of the dangers that lurked inside. Although he knew the safe route, but it took him a few months to come out. It was not a good thing to get lost. Moreover, Ning Qing also knew that there were not many good things in the Dan forest. Compared to the danger, this kind of risk was not worth it. Besides, Ning Qing did not want to go back to the Dan forest, so he just smiled and said, "I don't know if Brother Tai Shu wants to go there to gain experience, or do you want to look for some high-level spiritual grasses? If you're looking for high-grade spiritual herbs, then I advise Brother Grand Uncle to change locations as soon as possible." I was also somewhat familiar with the Dan forest, although there are some high-level spiritual grasses in it, but they are extremely rare. Even in a year you might not be able to find even one. Brother Tai Shu has been in the vicinity for nearly half a year, so I'm sure you're very clear about this. If Brother Tai Shu really wants to gain experience, then you simply do not need to go deep into the Dan forest. As long as you are at the edge of the forest, you can achieve the same effect. After Tai Shushi heard Ning Cheng's words, he patted his head and said, why didn't I think of that? I have already stayed here for half a year, and the highest level of spirit grass is only level 2. There is really no need to continue staying here. As for training, I've long been tired of these brainless low-level demonic beasts. Although I need a lot of these low-leveled spiritual grasses, but it is not necessary to keep them in the Dawn Forest. You need a large amount of low-level spirit herbs. Are you an alchemist? Ning Cheng asked in doubt. He now knew that not all people who practiced alchemy were called alchemists. Only those who could refine pills could be called alchemists. Those who could not refine pills and could only refine spirit liquids and pills were called alchemists. Tai Shushi's age did not look old, so it was impossible for him to be a pill master, so when Ning Cheng heard him say that he needed a lot of spiritual grasses, he thought that he was an alchemist. Tai Shushi proudly smiled and said, Brother Ning, you really look down on me. I am a 100% Tier 1 ordinary pill master, moreover I already have the confidence to refine a Tier 2 ordinary pill. Ning Cheng had more than once heard people say that alchemy was very difficult, moreover the people who told him about the difficulty of alchemy all had some background. Whether it was Feng Jian or the old woman, their tone was the same. Feng Jijian was a bit better, he only said that alchemy was difficult. Not only did the old woman say that alchemy was difficult, but she also said that alchemy was a small path. Ning Cheng was just thinking of refining the true condensation pill. At this time he met an alchemy master, he immediately wanted to inquire about it. Even if this Tai Shushi in front of him was not able to refine the pill that he wanted, the other party was definitely in contact with more people than him. Thinking till here, Ning Cheng hurriedly asked, Brother Tai Shu, I often hear people talking about pill masters. I do not know what is a pill master. Can Brother Tai Shu please enlighten me? When Tai Shushi heard Ning Cheng's inquiry, he looked at Ning Cheng up and down with some doubts, and then asked, Is it possible that Brother Ning is not a person from the Yuan continent, and came from the Dawn Forest? Ning Cheng secretly thought that Tai Shushi was very shrewd, and did not hide anything. That's right, my luck is good, it took me a few months to pass through the Dawn Forest. What Ning Cheng said was very simple, but Tai Shushi's heart was in turmoil. He was almost killed several times at the edge of the Dawn Forest. Ning Cheng was able to pass through the Dawn Forest. This was simply too amazing. Moreover, Ning Cheng said that he could pass through the Dawn Forest as if he was eating and drinking water. In fact, it was definitely not the case. No one could rely on luck to pass through the Dawn Forest. From this, it can be seen that Ning Cheng was not a person who liked to boast. This kind of person had a calm mind, and would definitely have a bright future. Thinking that he was proud of his ability in alchemy, Tai Shushi felt ashamed in his heart, and at the same time he also wanted to make friends with Ning Cheng. So it was like this. Brother Ning originally came from the Ping continent. The spiritual qi in the Ping continent is the most scarce. There are many things that have not been spread out, so it is normal that you do not know about it. After Tai Shushi calmed down his shocked mood, he said in detail, in fact, the Yixing mainland's alchemy masters are divided into ordinary pill masters, true pill masters, profound pill masters, earth pill grandmasters and heaven pill grandmasters. The pills are also divided into 9 levels. Those who can refine level 1 and level 2 pills are called ordinary pill masters, those who can refine level 3 and level 4 pills are called true pill masters, and those who can refine level 5 and level 6 pills are called profound pill masters. Only those who can refine level 7 and level 8 pills can be called as earth pill grandmasters. As for those who can refine level 9 and above pills, they are called heaven pill grandmasters. After listening to Tai Shushi's words, Ning Cheng came to understand. Originally those spiritual liquids and pills were not even worth mentioning. Brother Tai Shu, how many heaven pill grandmasters are there in the Yixing mainland? Presumably there should not be many, right? Ning Cheng asked again. Tai Shushi gave a wry smile and said, Actually I am not very clear, but I am sure that even if there are heaven pill grandmasters, there would only be 1 or 2, it is simply not a problem to talk about how many there are. Ning Qing suddenly thought of the time when he was talking with the old woman and Fang Jiani. He caught on to a question, and then asked again, Brother Tai Shu, I heard people say that in the lower class continents cultivation methods, the qi gathering cultivators rarely stretch out their spiritual sense. But alchemy requires a strong spiritual sense. How does Brother Tai Shu practice alchemy? Tai Shu stared at Ning Cheng, and after a good while said, I finally understand why Brother Ning was able to pass through the Dawn Forest. It turns out that Brother Ning and I are the same kind of people. Seeing that Ning Cheng was about to speak, Tai Shu raised his hand to stop Ning Cheng from speaking, and continued, I am sure that Brother Ning does not practice a simple cultivation method. In fact, this is not a secret. In the advanced class continents, even in the intermediate class continents, the cultivators practice a complete cultivation method, that is, from the qi gathering first level, they start to cultivate their spiritual sense. After reaching the qi gathering fourth level, one would be able to fly on a flying sword. In the true condensation realm, the sea of consciousness would be formed, and the spiritual sense would also turn into spiritual consciousness. It is not like what the lower class continents say that you need to reach the essence building realm in order to have a sea of consciousness. Saying that, Tai Shu gave a self-deprecating smile and said, I presume that Brother Ning is the same as me, and both of us practice a complete cultivation method, and are able to release our spiritual sense. Ning Cheng had thought that this was one of his secrets, but he did not think that anyone from the Yuan continent would know about it. He asked in confusion, could it be that everyone in the Yuan continent knows about this? Tai Shu shook his head and said, you all know, how is that possible? However, there were also some people who knew that it was just that everyone was lacking in spiritual energy resources. If they wanted to advance, they had no choice but to cultivate low-level cultivation techniques. Don't look at a lower-class continent's true condensation cultivator. If a lower-class continent's true condensation cultivator went to a higher-class continent, maybe they would not be able to defeat a genius qi-gathering cultivator. This is a fact, no one can change it. Sure enough, just as he had guessed, Ning Cheng also felt a bit sad. With his cultivation, being able to reach the Hua continent was already a great achievement. If he wanted to go to an intermediate-class continent, then it would be even more difficult. Since elder brother Ning was able to pass through the Dawn Forest, then you should have the same thoughts as me, always thinking that one day you would be able to go to an intermediate class continent. Unfortunately, although we understand this truth, but the spiritual qi here is not enough for us to advance to a higher level. If we do not have a profound core cultivator to escort us, then even if we want to go to an intermediate class continent, it would simply be a delusion. Tai Shu did not know whether he was trying to persuade Ning Cheng, or was trying to comfort himself. Ning Cheng quickly put aside these distracting thoughts, who was the one who was sure that he would be able to cultivate to the qi gathering 9th level. But he had also cultivated to the same level. What would happen in the future, who could say it clearly? Elder brother Tai Shu, from the way you spoke before, it seems that there are other continents outside of our Yixing mainland? Ning Cheng had long wanted to ask this question. He wanted to know if the Earth was a different continent compared to the Yixing mainland. That's right, the Yixing mainland is just one of the planes in the entire chaotic universe. In the chaotic universe, there are countless planes. Some of them can be reached by relying on one's cultivation level, but there are also some that cannot be reached by relying on one's cultivation level. In other words, if one's cultivation level does not reach an extremely terrifying level, then one would not be able to pass through the planes. When Tai Shu spoke about the countless planes, his tone became dignified. Ning Cheng did not understand these things, but after listening to Tai Shu's words, his heart sank. What Tai Shu meant was that he would never be able to return to Earth. Elder brother Tai Shu, how do you know about this? Is it possible that all the cultivators in the Yuan continent know about this truth? Ning Cheng knew that Tai Shu did not have any reason to lie to him, but in his heart he still missed him, and hoped that he could be an exception. Tai Shu shook his head and said, I and elder brother Ning felt like old friends at first sight, and felt that elder brother Ning was a person who could be made friends with. In fact, the cultivation method that I practice is from my Tai Shu clan. My Tai Shu clan appeared thousands of years ago in the Yixing mainland's Le continent. Later, in order to find a way back, our ancestor left the Lu continent. After our ancestor left, my Tai Shu clan also gradually declined. Until today, I am the only one who ended up in the Yuan continent, this low-leveled continent. Tai Shu Shi's tone was desolate. It was obvious that he was unwilling in his heart. Ning Cheng was extremely excited in his heart. Tai Shu Shi's ancestor was able to cross plains. He was absolutely a powerhouse among powerhouses. In the future, would he also be able to achieve this? Ning Cheng did not even care about Tai Shu Shi's desolation, and somewhat eagerly asked, "Elder brother Tai Shu, your ancestor must have been an amazing person. Was the cultivation method of your Tai Shu clan also passed down from that ancestor?" Originally Ning Cheng wanted to ask if there was any information about the ancestor of the Tai Shu clan that could cross plains, but thinking that the friendship between the two of them was not very deep, asking this question seemed a bit abrupt. He decided to slowly lead the way to this question. Listening to Ning Cheng talk about his ancestor, Tai Shu Shi's face immediately showed a very proud look. "My ancestor's name is Tai Shu Yi. According to my Tai Shu clan's inheritance, because of an accident, my ancestor crossed plains and landed in the Yixing mainland. At that time his cultivation level was only a billionth of his original cultivation level. But even so, the most powerful person in the entire Yixing mainland, in front of my ancestor, was just like an ant." Chapter 64. When Ning Cheng heard this, his heart suddenly surged. With only a billionth of his cultivation, he could still treat the Yixing mainland's most powerful expert as an ant. What kind of concept was this? No wonder he could cross plains. Cultivating to the extreme would have such a terrifying ability. At this moment, Ning Cheng's heart was burning like a fire. He wanted to crazily cultivate, even if he could not reach the terrifying cultivation level of Tai Shu Yi. He wanted to tear open the plains and return to earth. Tai Shu Shi seemed to feel that his tone was a bit excited. He eased his tone and said, "My Tai Shu clan has records that plains and plains are different. Different plains have different cultivation methods, and even the levels are not the same. But different paths lead to the same goal. Any cultivation is a process of transforming the heaven and earth spiritual qi into one's own cultivation. There is no exception. The cultivation structure of each plane is based on the precipitation of countless years. It is not without reason. The cultivation method that I cultivate was temporarily modified by my ancestors. After experiencing the vicissitudes of my Tai Shu clan for thousands of years, now in my hands, there is only a cultivation method for the essence-building realm, alas." When he said that there was only a cultivation method for the essence-building realm, the desolation in Tai Shu Shi's eyes was obvious. Ning Cheng felt that although Tai Shu Shi looked like a pretty boy, but his words were direct, which he really appreciated. Then he laughed and said, "Brother Tai Shu does not have to worry. As long as your cultivation level is high in the future, you can go back to the Lu continent. Maybe you can find your Tai Shu clan's cultivation method. I and brother Tai Shu feel like old friends. Why don't we find a place to drink and chat? Wouldn't that be better?" What brother Ning said is very good. I also have this intention. As for the cultivation method, I am not worried. Compared to the many people in the lower class continents, I am already ahead of them. Tai Shu Shi was obviously not a bashful person. His mood quickly recovered, and then changed the topic and said, "We are going to Shijia City. Shijia City is the third largest city in the Yuan continent. In Shijia City there is a famous academy, Blue Flame 4-Star Academy. This is also a place to enjoy life. Every once in a while, I will go to Shijia City to live for a while." Speaking till here, Tai Shu Shi's expression seemed to be somewhat bashful. Ning Cheng did not pay attention to Tai Shu Shi's expression. He was thinking about the Blue Flame 4-Star Academy. When he and an E were on the beach, they met a seriously injured person. That person wanted to kill him and an E, but he was killed instead. He remembered that that person was from the Blue Flame 4-Star Academy, and an E. Seeing that Ning Cheng's attention was not very focused, Tai Shu Shi reminded Ning Cheng and said, "From here to the Shijia city, if we take a beast carriage it would take us a few months, but if we fly on our flying swords, it would only take us 2 days. Brother Ning can use spiritual sense, you can also fly. However, in this place, when a qi-gathering cultivator flies on a flying sword, they absolutely cannot be ostentatious. We'll try our best to walk in a secluded place. Very few people will notice us. Tai Tai Shu sure, Ching said. Tai sure, I want to say, realm, and Cheng, Shu sure should go to the continent. Ning Ching felt that Tai Shu sure should be a trustworthy person, and simply said, Brother Tai Shu, I came to the Yuan continent because I wanted to go to the Hua continent. I also know that my cultivation level is too low, so I want to advance to the true condensation realm, and then go to the Hua continent. Tai Shu sure did not know that Ning Cheng wanted to obtain a true condensation pill. When he heard Ning Cheng's words, he hesitated for a moment and said, I do not want to attack Brother Ning, but even if Brother Ning has the opportunity, and is able to advance to the true condensation realm in the Yuan continent, you will not be able to reach the Hua continent. Going from the Yuan continent to the Hua continent is completely different from going from the Ping continent to the Yuan continent. I do not know how Brother Ning passed through the Don Forest. Either you have good luck, or you have a good map. But from the Yuan continent to the Hua continent, there is an endless desert. Ordinary essence-building cultivators do not dare to cross this kind of terrible desert, not to mention a true condensation cultivator. In the middle of the desert, there are countless terrible monstrous sand beasts. There are also countless desert whirlpools. What is even more terrible is that you can encounter lightning at any time. If you are not careful, you will be completely swallowed up by the sand. Generally, to go to the Hua continent, there is a profound congealing realm cultivator, and then fly there using a large airship. Moreover, even in the Yuan continent, advancing to the true condensation realm is extremely difficult, although the resources in the Yuan continent are richer than the Ping continent, but this richness is also very limited. A true condensation pill is not easy to get. Ning Ching simply said, I will first advance to the true condensation realm. If I really cannot advance to the true condensation realm, then I do not intend to go to the Hua continent. Once I advance to the true condensation realm, I have some assurance that I can go to the Hua continent. I have a simple map of the Hua continent. It would be much better than blindly rushing along. Do you have a map of the Thunder Fall Desert? Tai Shu sure asked in a pleasantly surprised voice. Is it called the Thunder Fall Desert? I indeed have a simple map. Ning Ching said as he took out the map and gave it to Tai Shu sure. After Tai Shu sure looked at the map, he was pleasantly surprised and said, Yes, this is indeed a simple map of the Thunder Fall Desert. I did not think that you would have a simple map of the Don Forest. No wonder you were able to pass through the Don Forest. After returning the map to Ning Cheng, Tai Shu sure hesitated for a moment and said, That's good, I also want to go to the Hua continent. After all, only by going to the Hua continent would I have the opportunity to go to the intermediate class Jia continent. Why don't we travel together? I have almost collected all the materials for the true condensation pill. Now I only lack the main spiritual fruit, the golden cicada fruit, and a supplementary spiritual grass, the blue tea grass. The golden cicada fruit is a bit troublesome, but the blue tea grass is easy to obtain. Ning Cheng interrupted Tai Shu sure and said, I have the golden cicada fruit. When Tai Shu sure heard Ning Cheng's words, he suddenly paused. He even forgot what he was going to say, as he looked at Ning Cheng with some disbelief and said, Do you really have the golden cicada fruit? Ning Cheng took out a wooden box and handed it to Tai Shu sure and said, Take a look. Tai Shu sure excitedly grabbed the wooden box. When he discovered that there really was a golden cicada fruit in it, he immediately laughed and said, It really takes a lot of effort, Brother Ning. If we can find the blue tea grass, then we can refine the true condensation pill. As for the true condensation pill, I have a way to find the blue tea grass, and I also have a way to ask someone to help me refine the blue tea grass. This golden cicada fruit, you can put it away first. When it is time to refine the pill, you can take it out again. Ning Cheng did not take the wooden box that Tai Shu sure handed to him, and just gave a slight smile and said, Brother Tai Shu, you said it before, we feel like old friends at first sight. This golden cicada fruit might as well be on your body. After you finish refining the pill, you can give it to me. Ning Cheng was confident that he would not make a mistake. Tai Shu sure was definitely not a person who would go missing just for a golden cicada fruit. If he was wrong, then he could only blame himself for his poor eyesight. Tai Shu sure did not continue to decline. After he put away the wooden box, he said to Ning Cheng, Brother Ning, you are my friend. You can rest assured, I, Tai Shu Shi, will not let you down. The more the two people chatted, the more they became happy. They really regretted not meeting each other earlier. Ning Cheng was a rookie in cultivation. All of his theories were pieced together, and he even deduced them from the cultivation method jade strips. There were many small details and mistakes in the middle, but under the mutual discussion with Tai Shu Shi, he benefited a lot. Some of the simple truths that he did not understand suddenly became clear to him. Tai Shu Shi was even more shocked in his heart at Ning Cheng's genius brain. He and Ning Cheng were the complete opposite. Ning Cheng did not understand some of the basic things. But he did not understand some of the cultivation methods. Originally he wanted to use them as a topic to discuss with Ning Cheng, but he did not think that Ning Cheng would find the right direction for him. After this chat, Tai Shu Shi was even more certain that Ning Cheng would not be ordinary in the future. Brother Tai Shu, your ancestor Tai Shui left behind some information about the plane. Can you let me have a look? Ning Cheng felt that since he and Tai Shu Shi had chatted to this extent, it should not be a problem for him to have a look at some information about the plane. Tai Shu Shi showed an apologetic expression and said, Brother Ning, my Tai Shu clan is only passed down by word of mouth. There is no actual book left behind. If there was, I would have definitely taken it out for Brother Ning to have a look. Because it is passed down by word of mouth, the cultivation methods of my Tai Shu clan are getting less and less. Ning Cheng showed a disappointed expression. He wanted to know what was the plane, and then see if he could return to Earth in the future. Seeing Ning Cheng somewhat disappointed, Tai Shu Shi hesitated and said, Brother Ning, I know a little about the plane. According to the inheritance of my Tai Shu clan, a plane can have countless planets and innumerable continents. Planes and planes are different. I heard that if you cultivate to the extreme in the Yixing mainland, you can ascend to another plane. But even if you ascend to another plane, you will still be in the same plane. For ordinary cultivators, even if their cultivation is high, it would be very difficult to go from one plane to another plane. My ancestor Tai Shui, because of a catastrophe, came to the Yixing mainland from another plane. Moreover, when he came to the Yixing mainland, his corporeal body had completely disappeared, only a trace of his life essence remained. His corporeal body was remodeled in the Yixing mainland. That is not any different. Ning Cheng muttered to himself. He did not know if the Earth and the Yixing mainland were the same plane. According to Tai Shu Shi, this plane was similar to the galaxy that the Earth spoke of. If the Earth and the Yixing mainland were in the same galaxy, then in the future when his cultivation reached a certain level, maybe he could really go back. If it was not the same plane, then he estimated that he would never have the opportunity to go back. Tai Shu Shi said, different planes have a completely different concept of time. In our plane thousands of years have passed, but in another plane only a few days have passed. Of course, this is the information passed down by my Tai Shu clan. After so many years, how much of it is true, and how much is false, I do not know. Ning Cheng suddenly hoped that the Yixing mainland and the Earth were not the same plane. If they were not the same plane, then no matter how long he cultivated in the Yixing mainland, it would only be a very short time on Earth. The two of them talked while flying, coupled with the time to rest on the road. 2 days passed by in a blink of an eye. Brother Ning, we are almost close to the Shijia city. We do not need to continue flying. In another 2 to 4 hours, we can reach a relay station. At the relay station we can take a beast carriage to the Shijia city. Tai Shu Shi landed on the side of a mountain road, and simultaneously put away his flying sword. Chapter 65. Looking at the Shijia city from the outside, Ning Cheng felt that this city was not even as good as the Nanyuan city. Whether it was the layout or anything else, it seemed rather low-key. After entering the Shijia city, he saw the extremely spacious main street, which finally made Ning Cheng feel that this place was a little bit better than the Nanyuan city. Brother Tai Shu, the streets of this Shijia city are very wide, but it doesn't look very prosperous. Ning Cheng could feel that there were not many shops on either side of the spacious street. Since there were no shops on either side, then the people who came and went would certainly be in a hurry, and would not stop for even a moment. Tai Shu Shi chuckled. Brother Ning, the people who know me call me Stone, you should also call me Stone. The reason why there were only a few people in this place was because the Blue Flame 4-Star Academy had stipulated that no shops could be set up on this road. Because at the end of this road is the Blue Flame 4-Star Academy, if there are any shops, then it would affect the students of the Blue Flame 4-Star Academy. So domineering? Ning Qing subconsciously replied, just because the academy had to pass through this road, did they control the main street? Tai Shu Shi hurriedly pulled Ning Cheng and said, Elder Brother Ning, you have to pay attention to your words. Once the Blue Flame 4-Star Academy comes to know about it, we will definitely have our tongues cut off. Ning Cheng nodded, but in his heart he despised the Blue Flame 4-Star Academy. He also smiled at Tai Shu Shi and said, you don't have to call me Brother Ning, just call me by my name. Alright. Tai Shu Shi also did not hesitate, and pulled Ning Cheng along with him as they walked down the wide main street, and after walking for a few meters, they once again entered another street. This street was much more lively and bustling. There were shops and people everywhere. Tai Shu Shi brought Ning Cheng to the entrance of a red building and stopped. Shi Tu, what are you doing here? Ning Cheng looked at the 3 words Yi Shui Courtyard written on the red building in front of him and asked. On both sides of the red chamber, there was a pair of couplets, ask the gentleman how many worries, leave Yi Shui to your heart. This was obviously a romantic place. The meaning of the couplet was that as long as you have worries, you can enter the Yi Shui Courtyard and stay there. This was a place to relieve one's worries and emotions. This kind of place, in the Zhangli city, there were many of them, and some of the adventurers loved it the most. Wait a minute, Tai Shu Shi came here, what did he want to do? This was the place where the adventurers went. Tai Shu Shi was a cultivator, moreover he was also an ordinary pill master. It was rare for him to be afraid of not being able to find a woman, so why would he go to the Yi Shui Courtyard? Seeing the puzzled look in Ning Cheng's eyes, Tai Shu Shi knew that Ning Cheng had already guessed his thoughts, and said in a rare bashful voice, Ning Cheng, you guessed it right. I have a woman I like here. Every time I come back, I will look for her. Ning Cheng was very puzzled as he looked at Tai Shu Shi and asked, since you like people so much, then why don't you just redeem her, and settle her in a place? Why would you put the woman you like here? Ransom him. Tai Shu Shi stared at Ning Cheng in surprise. I am a Tier 1 ordinary pill master, and can only occasionally come here to see her. Where would I find the spirit stones to redeem Lian Yi? This time it was Ning Cheng's turn to be shocked. He had never heard of a brothel that required spirit stones. Wasn't it just gold coins? Tai Shu Shi looked at the puzzled look on Ning Cheng's face, and explained, the Yi Shui Courtyard was founded by a very mysterious boss. The women here are the best quality female cultivators. Moreover, there are even a few of them who cultivate in the charm technique, and are extremely lovable. But the price is also very high. These women who cultivate in the charm technique have to pay 10 spirit stones to receive guests. Do you have to spend 10 spirit stones to see Lian Yi every time? Ning Cheng asked in disbelief. 10 spirit stones was not a small amount in a lower-class continent. Tai Shu Shi shook his head and said in a desolate manner, Lian Yi does not cultivate in the charm technique. The price is also relatively cheap, 2 spirit stones per time. But my level of alchemy is very low, so it is not easy for me to see her. If you want to redeem her, then you can't just use spirit stones, you need to get the consent of the Yi Shui Courtyard. Let's go in together, I still have some spirit stones on me, I will help you pay for it. Ning Cheng was speechless, and patted Tai Shu Shi's shoulder and said, you go in, I will find a place to rest. I am carrying this spear on my back, it would not be convenient for me to go in. He had been running around in the Dawn Forest for several months, although he was a cultivator at the Qi Gathering 9th level, but he still felt tired. Tai Shu Shi was just about to speak, when he saw a woman in a pink robe rushing out of the Yi Shui Courtyard. This woman was also beautiful and pleasing to the eye. As soon as she came out she immediately pulled Tai Shu Shi and anxiously said, Stone, how come you only came back now? Quickly go and see Lian Yi, her eyes are almost blind from crying. Hearing that Lian Yi's eyes were almost blind from crying, Tai Shu Shi immediately nervously asked, what's wrong with her? What's wrong? After asking, he did not wait for the woman in the pink robe to answer, as he hurriedly rushed in. In his haste he seemed to have remembered Ning Cheng, and hurriedly said to the woman in the pink robe, "This is my friend young Master Ning Cheng, please help me look after him, I will settle the bill." Seeing that Tai Shushi had already entered the Yi Shui courtyard, Ning Cheng had no choice but to put an end to the idea of leaving. "Young Master Cheng, is this your first time coming to the Yi Shui courtyard? You come with me, I believe that you will definitely be satisfied," the beautiful woman said to Ning Cheng in a sweet voice, while simultaneously reaching out to pull Ning Cheng's sleeves. Ning Cheng frowned. It was not that he did not like women, but he felt that this woman in the pink robe was speaking to him in such a sweet voice, which made him feel a little uncomfortable in his heart. The woman in front of him also had a beautiful and pleasant appearance. Even if she used that kind of urgent voice, it would still give people a better impression than this sweet voice. "Can you take me to a clean room, and give me a pot of tea? I want to rest for a while." Ning Cheng decided to wait here for a while. He understood the urgency of Tai Shushi's mood. When he saw Tian Mu Wan heartlessly leave, his mood was also extremely anxious. When the person he liked suddenly had an accident, he would definitely feel extremely anxious. "My name is Lu Hanyu, young Master Cheng can just call me Hanyu," the woman in the pink robe said with a bit of shyness, as she led Ning Cheng to a room on the second floor. What made Ning Cheng surprised was that this room also had a spiritual gathering array. The spiritual qi inside was a lot denser than the outside. It seems that the two spirit stones were not wasted. The light in the room was dim, and a large bed was particularly conspicuous. On the side of the bed, there was a white jade tea table. Ning Cheng had just looked around the room, when Lu Hanyu came forward and stuck close to Ning Cheng, and whispered, "Young Master Cheng, this is my room. I was supposed to rest today, but when I saw young Master Cheng, my heart started to palpitate." Even if Ning Cheng knew that Lu Hanyu was just playing around, Ning Cheng was stimulated by the hazy color of the room, and was also somewhat moved. Lu Hanyu was also somewhat excited in her heart. She had stayed in the Yi Shui courtyard for more than a year. What kind of people had she not seen? But Ning Cheng was such a clean man. It was the first time that she had met. The mysterious yellow origin had cleansed his body, and was incomparably clean and fresh. It was also because of this, that Lu Hanyu could see that Ning Cheng was still a virgin. Such a man, even if she had to throw herself at him, she would be willing to accompany him. Lu Hanyu was extremely proficient in the way of teasing. She could feel Ning Cheng's heart beating, and unexpectedly had a kind of enthusiasm in her heart. Her hand seemed to unconsciously move across Ning Cheng's chest. A kind of extreme softness hit him. Ning Cheng's hand only lifted halfway, and then once again put it down. The broken spear that was left behind by the spear in the room made his enthusiasm instantly dissipate. He did not come here to have fun. Even if he wanted to find a woman, he could not throw his first time in this place. He pushed Lu Hanyu away, and went to the jade table and sat down. "You sit down first, I want to ask you something." Lu Hanyu saw Ning Cheng push her away, and felt a little disappointed in her heart. No wonder this man was still a virgin until today. This kind of rationality was really amazing. She had used her charm technique a moment ago. She had been cultivating her charm technique for a long time, but this was the first time she had used it, but it did not have any effect, which made her extremely frustrated. She had used her charm technique this time, without any other purpose. She just wanted to give herself to the man in front of her. Lu Hanyu was also a person who was very good at controlling her emotions, and quickly put away her feelings. She picked up a teapot from under the tea table, and poured a cup of tea for Ning Cheng, and then sat down, and softly said, "What does young Master Cheng want? Please feel free to speak." Compared to her previous sweet words, Ning Cheng felt that Lu Hanyu's words were a lot more natural. He picked up the teacup and took a sip. As it entered his mouth, it was definitely a kind of spiritual tea. "Thank you." Ning Cheng knew that Lu Hanyu was extremely kind towards him, and after thanking her, he asked, "Is Lian Yi the lover of stone? What happened to her, to make stone so panicky?" Chapter 66. 3 days later, there will be 10 elder sisters from the Yi Shui courtyard that will be put up for auction. Elder sister Lian Yi has already reached the upper age limit, and is also on the list. Apart from the 3 elder sister Mei, big sister Lian Yi was the most beautiful person in the Yi Shui courtyard. In the Shijia city, there were already many young masters waiting for her, not to mention that elder sister Lian Yi was fond of Shi too. Even if elder sister Lian Yi did not have anyone in her heart, if she was bought by someone, then her future fate would be extremely miserable. Alas, it's a pity that I can only go and see her, but I can't help her. Lu Hanyu seemed to remember her own situation, sighed, and her expression became extremely gloomy. In another 3 years, she would be the one to be put up for sale. In any case, Lian Yi still had Tai Shu Shi who remembered her. Even if Tai Shu Shi could not help Lian Yi, it would still give Lian Yi some comfort in her heart. However, she had no one to rely on. She subconsciously looked up at Ning Cheng. She was very clear in her heart that Ning Cheng did not have any feelings for her. But even if that was the case, she still took out the little bit of spiritual tea that she had treasured for many years for Ning Cheng to drink. She also had a young girl's dream and longed for a beautiful future. Ning Cheng was speechless. In this place, women were treated as goods for sale. It was just too normal. Not to mention that he couldn't help, even if he couldn't help countless women like her. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. Lu Hanyu also did not continue to tease Ning Cheng, but Ning Cheng was thinking about how to help Tai Shu Shi. With Lian Yi's fame, since she was listed, she would need at least 300 spirit stones. The total number of spirit stones he had on him was no more than 300. Once someone bid, his spirit stones would not be enough. Other than spirit stones, the only valuable thing on him was a level 4 spiritual grass. He did not know if he could sell a rank 4 spiritual grass in the Shijia city for a good price. Moreover, he was really reluctant to part with it. Ning Cheng shook his head. He would support as much as he could. 300 spirit stones was a large sum of wealth for others, but for him, it was just a drop in the bucket. It would not be of much use. At this time, Lu Hanyu's room was suddenly knocked on. Lu Hanyu hurriedly went forward to open the door. Tai Shu Shi anxiously stood in the doorway. Ning Cheng, quickly accompany me to the Shijia city's auction. The next auction will be held tomorrow. I want to go and auction a few things. Tai Shu Shi on seeing Ning Cheng eagerly said. Ning Cheng already understood the meaning of Tai Shu Shi's words. He stood up and smiled at Lu Hanyu and said, "Thank you for the tea, it was very good." "Thank you." Lu Hanyu bowed and said her thanks, but did not see Ning Cheng and Tai Shu Shi off. At this time Tai Shu Shi had already calmed down from his anxiousness. He knew that the most urgent thing was how to get the spirit stones. When he saw that Ning Cheng did not put anything on the tea table and followed him out of the Yi Shui courtyard, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Ning Cheng should not have come to this kind of place. He did not know that spirit stones were required to drink tea. These teas were not things from the Yi Shui courtyard, they were things that belonged to the female cultivators. Generally after the guests came to use them, they would take the initiative to pay with spirit stones. As for the amount of spirit stones paid, it depended on the wealth of the guest. Actually, you should have left behind a spirit stone. It wasn't easy for them either. The 2 spirit stones that we used to enter the courtyard were taken away by the Yi Shui courtyard. There is no point for them. After walking far away from the Yi Shui courtyard, Tai Shu Shi sighed and said. Ning Cheng certainly knew the meaning of Tai Shu Shi's words. These female cultivators in the Yi Shui courtyard depended on the private tips from the guests. If the guests were stingy, then the female cultivators could only work for free. Ning Cheng was silent. It was not that he was reluctant to part with a spirit stone, it was not that he did not know the rules. Even if he had not come to this kind of place, he had seen it a lot. The reason why he did not give the spirit stones was because he could feel that Lu Hanyu was still somewhat pretentious towards him. But after entering the room, Lu Hanyu's attitude towards him should be that she was aroused. Moreover, the spiritual tea that he drank was definitely a top-grade spiritual tea. He did not know where Lu Hanyu got this spiritual tea, but he was sure that Lu Hanyu did not have much of this spiritual tea. For her to take out this spiritual tea, it should not be to earn a few spirit stones. Even if she wanted to earn spirit stones, Lu Hanyu would not choose a person like him. Ning Cheng was a person who valued friendship. Between him and Lu Hanyu, it was absolutely impossible. But he also did not want to use a spirit stone to make Lu Hanyu sad about her identity. When he left, Lu Hanyu's words of thanks had already explained everything. Prostitutes have their own pride and self-esteem. To use a spirit stone to shatter this kind of self-esteem, it would be a cruel thing to do. If possible, Ning Cheng would rather help Lu Hanyu in another place. Tai Shu Shi brought Ning Cheng to a circular building and stopped in front of it. On top of this building was written, Shijia Auction House. What do you want to sell? Ning Cheng looked at Tai Shu Shi, who seemed to have made a big decision, and asked. Tai Shu Shi decisively said, I must redeem Lian Yi. I have a rank 3 spiritual grass. An ordinary rank 3 spiritual grass would be very difficult, right? Perhaps you would not even be able to sell it. Ning Cheng reminded Tai Shu Shi. Tai Shu Shi bit his lips. It was obvious that he knew. An ordinary rank 3 spiritual grass would not be able to sell for many spirit stones. If he wanted to redeem Lian Yi, he would have to think of another way. If it really doesn't work, then I still have the Tai Shu clan's cultivation method. Although this cultivation method is missing a lot, but at least it can be regarded as a true great cultivation method, right? Tai Shu Shi's eyes showed a struggle. Although his Tai Shu clan's cultivation method was missing a lot, but it was still an inheritance. The Tai Shu clan's cultivation method was not recorded in the jade strips, and was passed down by word of mouth, but he actually wanted to sell it. This was simply outrageous. Fortunately, he still remembered that the golden cicada fruit was Ning Cheng's, otherwise he might have even taken out the golden cicada fruit. Stone, in the Shijia city, what is the price of a rank 4 spiritual grass? Are there any profound grade cultivation methods for sale? Ning Cheng patted Tai Shu Shi's shoulder and asked. In fact, Ning Cheng did not think that there was anything wrong with Tai Shu Shi. If it was his lover in the Yi Shui courtyard, even if he had to break his bones, he would find a way to get her out. He would absolutely not act like Tai Shu Shi, and even think about it for a long time. Tai Shu Shi looked at Ning Cheng in surprise and said, the price of a rank 4 spiritual grass is very outrageous. If it is an extremely precious rank 4 spiritual grass, then it can be sold for tens of thousands of spirit stones is normal. As for a profound grade cultivation method, you are just joking. If the Yuan continent can easily obtain a profound grade cultivation method, then the entire Yuan continent would turn upside down. Once a profound grade cultivation method appears, it would almost cause all the forces to come and compete for it. Do you think you can buy it? When Ning Cheng heard Tai Shu Shi's words, he immediately broke out in a cold sweat. Fang Jiani casually took out a pile of profound grade cultivation methods. He thought that although the profound grade cultivation methods were not rotten cabbages, but they were just some ordinary things. He did not think that they would be so precious. Originally he was going to take out a profound grade cultivation method for the auction, but fortunately he asked Tai Shu Shi, if he really took it out recklessly, then he would just be courting death. Giving up on the idea of taking out a profound grade cultivation method, Ning Cheng chuckled and said, Stone, you do not have to worry, although there are few good things in the depths of the Dawn Forest, but it is not that there are none. When I passed through the Dawn Forest, my luck was not bad. I managed to obtain a rank 4 spiritual grass. I will take this rank 4 spiritual grass to auction. A rank 4 spiritual grass was a very precious thing, but compared to a profound grade cultivation method, it could only be said that he was lucky. When Ning Cheng took out a rank 4 spiritual grass, there was not much pressure in his heart. Do you have a rank 4 spiritual grass? Tai Shu Shi immediately became excited. A common rank 4 spiritual grass can be exchanged for hundreds or even thousands of spirit stones. It would definitely be enough to redeem Lian Yi. But Tai Shu Shi quickly came to his senses. This rank 4 spiritual grass was not his. But this is your spiritual grass. Ning Cheng patted Tai Shu Shi's shoulder and said, you also said that we hit it off at first sight, so you do not need to be so bashful. Tai Shu Shi sighed and said, Brother Ning, you have said this sentence twice. You have helped me twice. But I only said it once, and only said it once. Ha ha. Ning Cheng laughed and said, "Don't be so wishy-washy, it is better to call Ning Cheng more practical. What brother Ning?" "No, from now on you are this stone's big brother, no matter what happens, this stone will always be at the forefront," Tai Shu Shi firmly said. Seeing Ning Cheng looking at him with a puzzled expression, Tai Shu Shi repeated his words, "Big brother, I am serious. You give me the spiritual grass, I will first evaluate it, and then we can go in together to discuss." Ning Cheng suddenly remembered a line that he often heard on earth. He took out a jade box and handed it to Tai Shu Shi, and said with a smile, "I have not been a big brother for many years." Ah! Tai Shu Shi could not understand the meaning of Ning Cheng's words. Could it be that big brother Ning had a sad past? "I mean, if you call me like that, it will give me a lot of pressure. I will have to take care of you in the future. I think about it, this does not seem worthwhile," Ning Cheng said as he put the jade box into Tai Shu Shi's hands. Tai Shu Shi knew that Ning Cheng was joking, but still said in a very serious manner, "Big brother, rest assured, I will absolutely not drag you down." Ning Cheng said, "I was just joking, don't be so serious." Tai Shu Shi opened the jade box in his hands, and then his hands trembled, almost dropping the jade box on the ground. This is the rainbow light grass. The rank 4 spiritual grass that you said is actually the rainbow light grass. That's right, I only have this one. Ning Cheng nodded and said, he knew that the rainbow light grass was very precious, but he really did not have any other rank 4 spiritual grass. If he did, he would definitely not take out the rainbow light grass. As for the soul wood, that thing was even more precious than the rainbow light grass. Ning Cheng would not take it out, and would not dare to take it out. Tai Shu Shi quickly handed the jade box back to Ning Cheng. "Big brother, this is too precious. This kind of thing should be auctioned in an intermediate class continent, or even auctioned in an advanced class continent. Even if it is not good, you should still bring it to the Hua continent. Even if you do not sell it, this kind of thing in your hands is also a big guarantee. This is a good thing that can restore the core lake. If you take it out and sell it, it is really. Chapter 67. Ning Cheng once again patted Tai Shu Shi's shoulder and said, "Stone, you really should go to my hometown to have a look. You should learn how those profiteers operate their capital. What you keep in your own hands is the lowest value. Things of high value must be given away, in order to reflect the real value, and then take back the reflected value, and drive your own interests. You said that this rainbow light grass, when we put it on our bodies, it is just a stalk of grass, and also takes up a small space, but once we take it out it is different, it can immediately become the thing that we need the most. This is the operation of capital. Well, to put it simply, even the people who sell the fruits, know that they will sell the good fruits, and leave the bad ones for themselves to eat. Are they stupid? No, this is to maximize the benefits." Ning Cheng talked for a long time. Suddenly he thought that he still had the even more precious soul wood in his storage bag. His face immediately turned red, and could no longer continue. Tai Shu Shi seemed to have forgotten about the rainbow light grass in his hands, and subconsciously asked, "Do the people of the Ping continent do business?" "My hometown is not the Ping continent. This is a long story, let's talk about it later." Ning Cheng did not want to discuss this issue. Good. Tai Shu Shi's attention once again returned to the rainbow light grass in his hands. His face immediately showed an excited expression. "Big brother, this rainbow light grass can definitely be sold for more than 10,000 spirit stones. Unfortunately, this is the Yuan continent. If it was an intermediate class continent, it can even be sold for 10,000 medium-grade spirit stones. How many low-grade spirit stones can a medium-grade spirit stone be exchanged for?" Ning Cheng knew that spirit stones were divided into high grade, medium grade, and low grade, but he was not clear about the exchange rate. Tai Shu Shi was much more proficient in this compared to Ning Cheng, and immediately replied, "A high-grade spirit stone can be exchanged for 10 medium-grade spirit stones, a medium-grade spirit stone can be exchanged for 10 low-grade spirit stones." But there is also a kind of spirit stone called best quality spirit stone. This thing is very precious. In theory, a best quality spirit stone can be exchanged for 100 high-grade spirit stones. In fact, no one has ever used best quality spirit stones to exchange for high-grade spirit stones, not to mention 100, even if it was 1,000, no one would be willing to exchange it. Ning Cheng had not yet answered, when a lean black-robed man rushed out from the Shijia auction house. He stared at the jade box in Tai Shusher's hands and quickly said, "Is this rainbow light grass in your box?" As he spoke, he looked as if he was about to snatch it away. Tai Shusher put away the rainbow light grass, and cupped his fists and said, "Yes, we are here to auction the rainbow light grass. I don't know if we will be able to catch up to the auction tomorrow evening." Yes, I can. Please come in." The black-robed lean old man said with an eager face. His eyes did not even look at Ning Cheng and Tai Shusher, but only stared at the package behind Tai Shusher. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng and Tai Shusher walked out of the Shijia auction house. Tai Shusher's eyes were filled with excitement, but also a little bit of worry. They only put forward one condition, and that was that the rainbow light grass must be put up for auction tomorrow. However, the price of the auction house's cut also made Ning Cheng's heart twitch. He had never seen a 50% cut. This was the meaning of half and half. It was simply too black. Regarding Tai Shusher's worries, Ning Cheng also understood. He was worried that the rainbow light grass would be auctioned off. In fact, Ning Cheng also had this kind of worry before. In this place, robbing others was just too normal. It was as if they had no choice but to agree despite knowing that the auction would be shady. Without strength, they had no right to speak. But now that the rainbow light grass had been put up for auction, moreover it was half and half, he actually felt relieved in his heart. If this thing was still in their hands, and the news leaked out, then it would be a bad thing. But now that the thing was not in their hands, he did not have to worry about it anymore. The Shijia auction house did not look small. Presumably they would not do such a thing for a mere rank 4 spiritual grass. "You do not have to worry about it. The rainbow light grass is not in our hands, so it would not be a problem. What you have to think about is how to get the blue tea grass, and then find someone to refine it into a pill." What Ning Cheng was most concerned about was how to get the true condensation pill, and then advance to the true condensation realm. When Tai Shusher heard Ning Cheng's words, he felt a lot more relaxed in his heart. The blue tea grass can be obtained at the auction. As long as we participate in the various auctions in the Shijia city, we will definitely be able to get the blue tea grass. Even if we cannot get it, we can finally go to the Pill Master Mulberry to buy it at a high price. Pill Master Mulberry? Ning Cheng repeated the name once more. Tai Shusher nodded and said, "That's right, it is the Pill Master Mulberry. This Pill Master Mulberry is one of the only 2 Tier 3 Pill Masters in the Shijia city. His reputation is first class. Even if you take out a precious spiritual grass, as long as you can give him a satisfactory price, he will also help you refine it. Moreover, he will never reveal what kind of pill the customer is refining. The things that he earns are all in the open. He will never take it by force." When Ning Cheng heard that there was such a person, he was very satisfied and said, "This is good. Wait for us to get the blue tea grass, then we will go and look for this Pill Master Mulberry." Tai Shusher sighed and said, "This Pill Master Mulberry is good at everything, but his asking price is too black. It is even more black than the Shijia auction house. If you want him to refine a pill, as long as he takes a fancy to the pill, he will charge you 60% of the pill. Moreover, he will also charge you spirit stones, 60% of the pill, and you still have to pay spirit stones." Ning Cheng thought to himself, "How is this a black heart? This heart is simply coal. This alchemy profession is really capable." "After you redeemed Lian Yi, are you going to take her with you to cultivate? In the future, when you go to the Hua continent, will you also take her with you?" In a private room of a rest stop in the Shijia city, Ning Cheng cautiously asked Tai Shusher. He did not know what Lian Yi's cultivation level was. If it was in the Shijia city then it would be better, but in the future when they go to the Hua continent, if Lian Yi's cultivation level was too low, then going to the Hua continent would be another consideration. Tai Shusher shook his head and said, I do not intend to take her to the Hua continent, and I also do not intend to marry her. I am a descendant of the Tai Shu clan, perhaps one day I will fall on the road to the Lu continent. The path that I want to walk on has already been made clear. I will not be able to live a peaceful life, bringing her with me is not appropriate. Ning Qing did not ask about this matter again. The two of them then began to discuss about how to advance to the true condensation realm after obtaining the true condensation pill, and then go to the Hua continent. Afterwards, they exchanged their cultivation experiences with each other. At the beginning, Ning Qing still had some things that he did not understand, so he had to ask Tai Shu Shi, but later on it was only Tai Shu Shi who asked Ning Qing. The two people discussed with each other for a whole night. Ning Qing and Tai Shu Shi not only did not feel tired, but were even more full of energy. They knew that today they would be going to the auction, and the two of them were even more eager to know how many spirit stones the rainbow light grass could be sold for. Ning Qing had not been to the auction, but he had seen it on TV. When he and Tai Shu Shi entered the Shijia city's auction house, they were immediately shocked by the luxurious atmosphere. The auction house was surrounded by large lights carved from pure white jade. The seats for the auction were arranged in rows of small private rooms, and outside each private room stood a beautiful female cultivator. Ning Cheng's first impression was that the auctions on Earth could not be compared to this kind of auction. Tai Shu Shi said in a low voice, "The Shijia city usually holds small auctions. There are no such private rooms, moreover there are not so many female cultivators to serve them. It seems that this time because of the rainbow light grass, the level of the auction was deliberately increased." Ning Qing and Tai Shu Shi arrived earlier. When the two of them arrived, the doors of the private rooms were already closed. It was obvious that someone had arrived earlier than them. After half an hour, the main lights on the auction stage suddenly lit up. A middle-aged man walked onto the auction stage. He first cupped his fists towards the people around him, and then said, "Today's auction was originally a small conventional auction, but because of the two precious items that came yesterday, we decided to increase the level of this auction. Fortunately, at the end of this month, there will be a large-scale auction, and there are many distinguished guests from the Shijia city. Without further ado, let us begin today's first auction item. This is an extremely precious rank 2 spiritual grass. It is called the blue tea grass. Presumably all of the friends here would not be unfamiliar with the value of the blue tea grass. This is one of the main spiritual grasses used to refine the true condensation pill. The base price is 30 low-grade spirit stones. Good, let's start the bidding. 50, 60. Once the blue tea grass came out, it immediately attracted a lot of bids. The bids were continuous. In just a few breaths' time, the price had already risen to 100 spirit stones. Tai Shu Shi had an excited look on his face as he said to Ning Qing, "I have accumulated 150 spirit stones. Do you still have any spirit stones on you? This blue tea grass we must obtain. Our luck is really too good. I did not think that the first item would be the blue tea grass." Ning Qing raised his hand to stop Tai Shu Shi. "Stone, I don't think we can take this blue tea grass. If the rainbow light grass can be sold for a good price, we would rather spend more spirit stones to look for Pill Master Mulberry to buy this thing." "Why?" After Tai Shu Shi asked, he immediately reacted, and then said, "Big brother, you are too careful. The blue tea grass is often sold, there will not be any problem." Ning Qing smiled and said, "Stone, since we have a safe choice, why not choose the safe way? The blue tea grass is not valuable, but the true condensation pill is. The people who want the blue tea grass, presumably also have the golden cicada fruit. I think it is better to be careful." "Not necessarily, there are some people who buy the blue tea grass, just like me, to collect the spiritual grasses needed to refine the true condensation pill. I do not have the golden cicada fruit," Tai Shu Shi said disapprovingly. Ning Qing shook his head and said, "The price of the blue tea grass has already risen to 200 spirit stones. Without the golden cicada fruit, spending 200 spirit stones to buy the blue tea grass, I do not believe it. Others may not be afraid, but we do not have this kind of ability." Tai Shu Shi then noticed that the price of the blue tea grass had already risen to 210 spirit stones. This price was rarely seen. He nodded and said, "Big brother, perhaps what you said is true, with such a high price, it really is not safe to buy it." Finally, the blue tea grass was sold for 220 low-grade spirit stones, and was bought by one of the private booths. When the host cultivator on the auction stage saw that the first item was sold for such a high price, he spoke in an even louder tone, "Congratulations to the friend who bought the blue tea grass, now we are going to start the auction with a very good thing. Even my Shijia auction house rarely have this kind of quality. This is a best quality spear-type artifact, the 7-star golden spear." Tai Shu Shi saw the beautiful golden spear in the hands of the host cultivator, and quickly said, "Big brother, I see that you are also using a spear-type artifact, moreover it seems to be of an ordinary grade, it would be better to buy this spear." Chapter 68. The base price of this spear is 800 low-grade spirit stones, start the bidding now. The voice of the middle-aged man on the auction stage had just fallen, when someone bid 1,000 spirit stones. With the first bid, the competition immediately became fierce, the price quickly rushed past 1,500 spirit stones, and quickly approached 2,000 spirit stones. Tai Shu Shi looked at Ning Cheng with some embarrassment and said, "I did not think that the price of this best quality artifact would be so high. If I had known earlier I would have learned how to refine artifacts." Ning Cheng did not mind it and smiled, "Not to mention that I do not have spirit stones, even if I had, I would not have come to snatch this spear." After several rounds of bidding, this 7-star golden spear was bought by someone for 3,600 spirit stones. After the middle-aged man who hosted the auction sold the spear, he held up a cowhide scroll and said in a clear voice, "This is a map, do not think that this is a treasure map. This is not a treasure map, but rather a map of a dangerous place. Many of my friends want to go to the Hua continent, but the dangers of the Thunder Fall Desert are simply not something that ordinary people can pass through. But this map just happens to be a map of the Thunder Fall Desert, but it has not been verified, so the authenticity of this map cannot be determined." When Ning Cheng heard this, he was happy in his heart, he must buy this map. This map had not been verified, so the price would certainly not be high, and the people who wanted it would not be too many. But it did not affect him, he already had a map, the main purpose of him buying this map was to compare the two maps. After all, the map that he had obtained was just a simple map. The base price of this map is 1,000 spirit stones, each bid must not be less than 100 spirit stones. The bidding starts. The words of the middle-aged man on the auction stage immediately made Ning Cheng lose his thoughts. A map that had not been verified, unexpectedly cost 1,000 spirit stones. If it was verified, then wouldn't it cost tens of thousands of spirit stones? What made Ning Cheng even more puzzled was that someone immediately bid 1,100 spirit stones. In a blink of an eye, the price of this map had risen to 1,500 spirit stones. From this, it can be seen that there were many people who wanted to go to the Hua continent. Finally, this map was bought by someone for 3,100 spirit stones. For the rest of the auction, Ning Cheng completely did not have any ideas. He had more than 300 spirit stones on him. In addition to the first auction item, the blue tea grass, he simply could not afford anything else. Although spirit stones were extremely difficult to obtain in the low-level continents, Ning Cheng found that not everyone was the same as him when it came to using spirit stones. After half a day had passed, Ning Cheng finally heard the middle-aged man hosting the auction speak. "The next item to be auctioned is a spiritual grass. I believe that a lot of people have come here for this spiritual grass." "That's right, this is the level 4 spirit herb, rainbow light grass." Even if there was a private room, Ning Cheng could still feel that after the rainbow light grass came out, it caused some commotion. That middle-aged man was not wrong, many people indeed came for the rainbow light grass. Everyone knows the uses of the rainbow light grass. It is one of the few things that can restore the core lake. Its value is immeasurable. Now, the starting price is 5,000 low-grade spirit stones, and each increment must be no less than 500 spirit stones. Let the bidding begin. Ning Cheng found that the person presiding over the auction would always lower the price, and then more people would participate in the bidding, and the final price would always be several times higher than the quoted price. Once the rainbow light grass came out, Ning Cheng and Tai Shu Shi were extremely nervous as they stared at it. Even if no one increased the price, they could still get 2,500 spirit stones. Relatively speaking, it was more or less enough. 6,000 spirit stones. 7,000 spirit stones. The price quickly rose to 12,000 spirit stones. It could be seen that there were a lot of people who wanted the rainbow light grass, and it also highlighted the preciousness of the rainbow light grass. When the price reached 19,000 spirit stones, a cold snort suddenly came out from one of the private rooms. This old man bids 20,000 spirit stones. Who would dare to increase the price? The people who were bidding here were all bidding through the array formation inside the private room, but for someone to directly bid with such an arrogant voice, this was the first time. It seemed that a lot of people knew who this old man was. After this cold snort and these words came out, unexpectedly no one dared to continue bidding. When Ning Cheng heard this, his heart was filled with hatred. He knew from the atmosphere of the bidding, that the final price of this rainbow light grass would definitely be more than 20,000 spirit stones. This bastard who claimed to be this old man wanted to use 20,000 spirit stones to buy his rainbow light grass. This was simply robbing his spirit stones. Although his heart was filled with hatred, Ning Cheng was unable to speak. Even the auction house had acquiesced to this kind of existence. If he, a cultivator at the Qi gathering 9th level, stood up to oppose it, then he would really be courting death. This old thing is really shameless. Tai Shu Shi also said with hatred in his heart. Ning Cheng helplessly said, even if you want to be shameless, you also need to have the strength. If you don't have the strength, then even if you want to be shameless it would be useless. Fortunately, after we obtain these 10,000 spirit stones, it should be enough for us to use. The rainbow light grass was indeed bought by the old man for 20,000 spirit stones. After the auction, Ning Cheng did not have any interest to continue staying here. Tai Shu Shi and Ning Cheng had the same thoughts. After the rainbow light grass was sold, he stood up and said, "Big brother, we can go now." At this time, the middle-aged man who was hosting the auction said in a loud voice, "The next item we are going to auction is a low-grade airship-type artifact. Wait." When Ning Cheng heard that it was an airship-type artifact, he was immediately tempted. With his current cultivation level, flying on a flying sword was too tiring. Moreover, once he encountered an emergency situation, he would have to face the enemy with an exhausted body, which would be the most dangerous. But with an airship it was different. An airship also required spiritual consciousness. Under normal circumstances, airship-type artifacts would have the support of spirit stones, so the consumption of spiritual consciousness would be much smaller. The base price of the airship is 600 spirit stones. Each increment must not be less than 100 spirit stones. Ning Cheng asked in amazement, a best quality long spear-type artifact is only 800 low-grade spirit stones. How come this airship is so expensive? Tai Shu Shi knew that Ning Cheng came from the Ping continent, so he did not know much about the situation in the Yuan continent, and immediately explained, among all the artifacts, the price of a flight-type artifact is the highest. The price of a low-grade airship-type artifact is almost equivalent to a high-grade attack-type artifact. The final transaction price of this airship would not be much lower than that long spear. Sure enough, the price of the airship had already reached 1,300 spirit stones, and there was no sign of it stopping. Let's go. Ning Cheng did not want to continue to buy a flight-type artifact. We will now go and find Pill Master Mulberry. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng took the 10,000 spirit stones and walked out of the auction house with Tai Shu Shi. The auction had given him a lot of stimulation. Obviously there were a lot of things that he wanted, but he did not have the spirit stones to buy them. The price of the rainbow light grass could obviously be sold at a higher price, but he had no choice but to sell it at a lower price. In the final analysis, it was because his strength was too low. He wanted to first find Pill Master Mulberry to refine a true condensation pill, and prepare to advance to the true condensation realm. As long as he advanced to the true condensation realm, he would immediately go to the Hua continent. Tai Shu Shi and Ning Cheng had the same idea, but he did not intend to immediately go to the Hua continent. He wanted to redeem Lien Yi, and then settle Lien Yi down, and then go to the Hua continent. Pill Master Mulberry has an eccentric temperament, try not to bargain with him, what he hates the most is bargaining. Tai Shu Shi was afraid that Ning Cheng did not know about Pill Master Mulberry, and repeatedly warned Ning Cheng. The place where Pill Master Mulberry lived looked very ordinary, it was just a simple courtyard on the outside. When Ning Cheng arrived here, he was aware that there was a defensive array formation outside the courtyard. Tai Shu Shi stood outside the door, and clapped his hands 3 times in the air. Then he winked at Ning Cheng, and said in a low voice, "We will wait here, as long as Pill Master Mulberry has the time, he will call us in." Sure enough, after a few breaths, Ning Cheng saw the defensive array formation in front of him open, and then a voice came over, "Come in." Ning Cheng and Tai Shu Shi pushed open the door to the courtyard. Inside the courtyard was a large spiritual grass garden. Inside the garden were planted rank 1 and rank 2 spiritual grasses. There were even a few rank 3 spiritual grasses. A boy was examining the spiritual grasses one by one. When Ning Cheng and Tai Shu Shi came in, the boy acted as if he did not see them, and was minding his own business. In the middle of this large spiritual grass garden, there was a winding path, which led directly to a narrow door. Ning Cheng and the other person walked through this winding path, and after entering the narrow door, the first thing they saw was a large pill furnace. Below the pill furnace, there was a flame burning, and the pill furnace was emitting a gulu gulu sound. Behind this pill furnace, a man without a beard was sitting on a praying mat, and was holding a spiritual grass in his hand as he pondered. Ning Cheng could not see the cultivation level of this person, but he guessed that this person was at least a cultivator in the essence building realm. Junior Tai Shu Shi, Ning Cheng greets Senior Mulberry, "This time I came to disturb Senior, to ask Senior to help me refine a pill." Tai Shu Shi respectfully bowed and cupped his fists as he spoke. Ning Cheng also slightly bowed, and cupped his fists as well. He was thinking in his heart that the rainbow light grass had appeared in the Shijia auction house, and Pill Master Mulberry was so fond of spiritual grasses, it was reasonable to say that he would go and have a look, but why was there no movement at all? Pill Master Mulberry seemed as if he did not see the two people, and also did not hear the words of Tai Shu Shi, and was still staring at the spiritual grass in his hand with a frown. Ning Cheng secretly despised him in his heart. This guy was just a tier 3 pill master. He had seen that old woman in the Nanyuan city, her level of alchemy was definitely higher than this guy called Mulberry, but she did not put on any airs at all. It seems that this person was only half a bucket of water. Unfortunately, he still had to look for this half a bucket of water for help. Ning Cheng and Tai Shu Shi waited for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, but Pill Master Mulberry still did not speak. Just when Ning Cheng was about to speak again, Pill Master Mulberry suddenly asked, "What kind of pill do you want to refine?" "This junior wants to refine a true condensation pill." Tai Shu Shi hurriedly replied. "True condensation pill." Pill Master Mulberry finally put down the spiritual grass in his hand, and turned his head to look at Ning Cheng and Tai Shu Shi. "Yes, true condensation pill." Tai Shu Shi affirmed it. Chapter 69. But, take out all the spiritual grasses needed to refine the true condensation pill. I will take 60% of the pill, plus 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. Pill Master Mulberry casually said. He had just come out from his closed-door cultivation, and had made a breakthrough in his research of a pill recipe, so he was in a very good mood. Otherwise, even if Ning Cheng and Tai Shu Shi wanted to come in, it would not be this fast. Ning Cheng thought to himself that he was really black-hearted. Not only did he take 60% of the pill, he also wanted to add 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. Not only that, but the tone of his voice was also dispensable. "If you don't want to refine it, are all pill masters this awesome?" "Senior Mulberry, I have a piece of news here. If it is useful to Senior, I want 50% of the pill. If it is not useful to Senior, then we will follow Senior's words." Ning Cheng had not finished speaking, when Pill Master Mulberry's face sank. He had never seen anyone who dared to bargain with him for alchemy. What kind of news dared to ask him for 10% of the pill? This kid simply did not know what was good for him. Just when Mulberry was about to tell Ning Cheng and Tai Shu Shi to get lost, Ning Cheng promptly said, "Today there will be a rank 4 rainbow light grass in the Shijia auction house. I do not know if this spiritual grass would be useful to Senior Mulberry. I think this kind of good thing would definitely be taken out as the finale of the auction." Ning Cheng bet that Pill Master Mulberry did not know about the rainbow light grass. If Pill Master Mulberry knew about it, he would definitely not give up the pursuit of the rainbow light grass. This was the conclusion that Ning Cheng came to when he saw him concentrating on studying a rank 3 spiritual grass. Tai Shu Shi was incomparably anxious in his heart. He did not think that Ning Cheng would really dare to bargain with him. But he did not have the time to apologize to Pill Master Mulberry when he saw Pill Master Mulberry stand up in shock. At this moment Tai Shu Shi knew that Ning Cheng's words had an effect, and secretly admired him in his heart. Ning Cheng not only dared to bargain, but also dared to say that the rainbow light grass might be taken out as the finale of the auction. In fact, he was very clear that the rainbow light grass had already been sold. Tai Shu Shi certainly understood Ning Cheng's meaning, because there was still half a day left before the auction. After Pill Master Mulberry finished refining the Pill Master Mulberry, he could still rush to the auction site to pursue the rainbow light grass. Seeing Pill Master Mulberry's expression, Ning Cheng was happy in his heart. This guy really did not know about the rainbow light grass. No wonder he was hiding in his house. Take out the spiritual grasses for refining the true condensation pill. Pill Master Mulberry directly said to Tai Shu Shi. Tai Shu Shi did not know that Pill Master Mulberry had already agreed to Ning Cheng's request, and immediately took out a pile of spiritual grasses from the cloth bag that he was carrying on his back, and piled them up on the ground. Pill Master Mulberry waved his hand, and the pile of spiritual grasses instantly disappeared. At the same time he took out a jade bottle and threw it to Tai Shu Shi and said, "My success rate in refining the true condensation pills is 6 pills per set. Here are 3 true condensation pills, you can go now." Not to mention 1,000 spirit stones, he didn't even want a single spirit stone. He probably wanted to get to the auction site as soon as possible to see if it was too late. "Thank you, Alchemist Mulberry." Ning Cheng hurriedly pulled Tai Shu Shi, who was still pleasantly surprised, thanked the Pill Master Mulberry, and hurriedly walked out of the narrow door. "Big brother, you really are something." After walking far away from Pill Master Mulberry's residence, Tai Shu Shi gave a thumbs up and praised him. "Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's hurry back." This time, Pill Master Mulberry realized that he had kicked an iron plate. He will definitely bear a grudge against us. Next time, don't even think about looking for him to refine pills, this is just a business. Ning Cheng was also extremely happy in his heart. After racking his brains, he finally managed to get his hands on the true condensation pill. With the true condensation pill and the spirit stones, he thought that advancing to the true condensation realm would not be much of a problem. As long as he advanced to the true condensation realm, then when he went to the Hua continent, he would have a few more guarantees. The two people were not happy for long, when Tai Shu Shi suddenly called out and stopped. "What's the matter?" Ning Cheng looked at Tai Shu Shi and asked in a puzzled manner. Tai Shu Shi patted his head and said, "I was just about to say that we were still missing a stalk of blue tea grass, but you interrupted me and I forgot about it. Once we are discovered by Mulberry, then we would be miserable." Ning Cheng also frowned, but then said, "There shouldn't be any problems, those spiritual grasses were inspected by Mulberry. Since he put them away, then it means that he has passed the inspection. Besides, if he wants to snatch the rainbow light grass, then at least for a few days he would not be able to take care of the spiritual grasses that we gave him. Even if he saw it, a stalk of blue tea grass would not cost many spirit stones, this is just a small matter." When Tai Shu Shi heard Ning Cheng's words, he also felt relieved in his heart. It seemed that this matter was really not that big. "But I think that after you redeem Lian Yi, we should immediately leave the Shijia city," Ning Cheng cautiously said. "Even if you don't say it, I understand." Tai Shu Shi nodded. The two people hurriedly found a place to stay. Tai Shu Shi took out a jade bottle, and poured out a true condensation pill, and handed the other two to Ning Cheng and said, "Big brother, I only need one, these are for you. I will leave the spirit stones with you, the day after tomorrow we will go to the Yi Shui courtyard together. These 2 days I will go into seclusion to sort out my recent gains, and then prepare to advance to the true condensation realm." Ning Cheng also did not refuse, and took the jade bottle and said, "All right, I will also prepare to sort out my gains, I will see you in 2 days." The resources that he needed for his cultivation were simply too terrifying. A single true condensation pill was not necessarily enough, now that he had 2 of them. 2 days later, Ning Cheng and Tai Shu walked into the Yi Shui courtyard. A few days ago when Tai Shu left the Yi Shui courtyard with an anxious expression, but today Tai Shu was brimming with confidence, and his demeanor was incomparably relaxed. At this time there was a huge banner hanging at the entrance of the Yi Shui courtyard. On the banner was written, "The Yi Shui courtyard's 11 popular sisters are up for auction today. If you want to understand the specific situation of the 11 sisters of the Yi Shui courtyard, please pay 10 spirit stones to enter the Yi Shui courtyard." It was a good calculation. Before selling people, they also wanted to earn an admission fee. This Yi Shui courtyard really was a place where one would not eat even half a bit of a loss, and would even pluck the feathers from the geese. "Hey, how come there are 11 people? Didn't they say that there were 10 people up for auction? Why is there one more?" Tai Shu asked in a strange voice. Ning Cheng's mind was already not in the Yi Shui courtyard. He just wanted to end things here as soon as possible, and then leave. If not for Tai Shu he would not have accompanied Tai Shu to wade through these muddy waters. "Don't think too much about it, hurry up and go in, when we are done with our business, we will leave." Ning Cheng reminded Tai Shu and then took out a spirit stone and handed it to a pretty sister next to him. "This elder sister, I would like to ask if Lu Hanyu is here." "If elder sister is not busy, then I would like to ask this elder sister to help me call Lu Hanyu." Tai Shu could not believe it as he looked at Ning Cheng and said, "Big brother, you are not in love with that Hanyu, are you? Are you the same as me, and want to redeem Hanyu?" Ning Cheng did not answer. That pretty sister quickly put away the spirit stone that Ning Cheng had given her, and then carefully looked around, and whispered, "Are you the guest of little sister Hanyu? You do not know, but I do not know what happened to Hanyu these past few days. She unexpectedly did not want to receive any guests, as a result she was listed for sale." "So that's how it is. How did it become 11 people?" Tai Shu suddenly said. Then he remembered what Ning Cheng had just asked, and hurriedly asked, "Big brother, do you want to redeem Hanyu?" "You." Ning Cheng was silent for a moment and said, "There are some things that you will not understand. I have a fiancée, and do not have any feelings for her. But if I can help her once for 1,000 spirit stones, then I would not mind these spirit stones." "I understand." Contrary to Ning Cheng's expectations, after Tai Shu said these 3 words, he also became silent. He did not have a fiancée, but he also could not marry Lien Yi. When the 2 people walked into the Yi Shui courtyard's main hall, Ning Cheng finally understood what it meant to be a second-generation ancestor. This was also an auction house, but compared to the previous Shijia auction house, this was simply a vegetable market. In the innermost part of this huge room, there was a temporarily built red square platform. In front of the square platform, there were 7 or 8 young masters sitting in the first row. Seeing these people, Ning Cheng first thought of Tsang Lu City's Xian Yuan Kuei. These guys in Xian Yuan Kuei were the same kind of people. Their cultivation level was not high nor low, but with the expression of, "I am the best in the world," they talked and talked loudly. They were discussing which pretty sister was worth it, and how much the price should be. In addition to these people in the first row, there were more than a dozen people sitting in the second row. Looking at their clothes and expressions, the people sitting in the second row were not worse than the people sitting in the first row. But they all had their eyes closed, and were not like the young masters sitting in the first row who were talking loudly. In addition to this, Ning Cheng also noticed that there were a few men wearing a cultivator's hat that covered their faces, and they were surrounded by a strange aura. Even if Ning Cheng had not come into contact with the cultivation method of a female furnace, he knew that these people were here to buy a female furnace. As for some of the older people, they were silently sitting in the corner. He did not know whether they were here to buy a pretty sister, or just to watch the excitement. After Ning Cheng and Tai Shusher found a place to sit down, they no longer spoke. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, a pretty woman wearing only an undergarment walked towards the red platform with mantis steps. The snow-white skin outside the undergarment matched with the two groups of trembling breasts. It was just like a living advertisement. Thank you all for coming to our Yishui courtyard to support us. Zhu Jiao is sure that today's listing of the 11 pretty sisters will not let everyone down. Her tone was soft and charming. She had not even finished speaking, when the several young men sitting in the front row laughed and said, "We like you, big and white. This elder brother likes Zhu Jiao is not simple. After the listing is over, Zhu Jiao will accompany you." He did not know whether what this woman said was true or false, but at least after she finished speaking, the atmosphere of the scene became even more enthusiastic. Our first listing is Ying Ying. Ying Ying has a 3-line support spiritual root. She has a delicate and beautiful appearance, and is very understanding. She is most suitable as a furnace. This woman called Zhu Jiao spoke bluntly about the matter of being a furnace, and did not have even half a shred of taboo, and the guests who came did not think that there was anything wrong with it. As this Zhu Jiao finished speaking, the red crystal curtain behind her automatically opened, and a woman with long hair wearing a light green robe appeared in front of everyone. This woman looked very beautiful, but there was a trace of indifference in her eyes, making her look more like a puppet that had lost all hope. Chapter 70. Ying Ying's listed price is 1,000 low-grade spirit stones, although this price is far from reflecting the value of Ying Ying. But today, all of you are friends of my Yishui courtyard, and in order to find a better home for Ying Ying, we decided to list it at the lowest price. Zhu Jiao's face had a charming expression. She completely did not know what shamelessness was. 1,300 spirit stones. I have already taken a fancy to Miss Ying Ying. Everyone please do not fight with me. A pale fat man sitting in the first row stood up and shouted. This person reminded Ning Cheng of the arrogant old man from the Shijia auction house, but the pale fat man in front of him seemed to only have the cultivation of qi gathering 4th level. He did not know where his confidence came from. 2,000 spirit stones. Ning Cheng's guess was not wrong. The pale fat man had just finished speaking, when someone immediately quoted a price. Moreover, the price was increased by 700 spirit stones. The one who quoted the price was a black-robed man sitting in the corner. The pale fat man obviously did not think that someone would not give him face, and immediately became angry. Who are you? Did you just arrive at the Shijia city, and already want to deliberately make me lose face? The words of the fat man contained an important message, that is, you just arrived at the Shijia city, and did not even go to inquire about who I am, and even dared to confront me? Pa, 2 crisp sounds rang out. The black-robed man flew up and slapped the fat man twice in the face. The pale fat man once again fell back, while spitting out 2 teeth. You are nothing. If you dare to talk again, I, your father, will split you. When the black-robed man fell back to his seat, he disdainfully cursed. The pale fat man seemed to be frightened by the fierceness of the black-robed man, and did not dare to continue to speak. Zhu Jiao did not seem to have seen it, and still stood on the stage with a flirtatious look in her eyes, seemingly hoping that someone would quote a higher price. He did not know if Ying Ying was only worth 2,000 spirit stones, or if other people did not dare to compete with the black-robed man. No one continued to increase the price, and finally Ying Ying was sent to the side of the black-robed man. Ning Cheng noticed that the black-robed man was definitely at true condensation 2nd level, but he was concealing his cultivation level, and appeared to be only at the qi gathering 8th level. In Ning Cheng's view, this black-robed man's true condensation 2nd level cultivation was not enough to make the Yishui courtyard afraid. Since this person dared to be so arrogant in this place, it seems that he should have some strength behind him that would make the Yishui courtyard feel fear. The red crystal curtain on the stage was pulled up once again. Zhu Jiao's entire body trembled as she giggled. Congratulations to this friend for getting Ying Ying just now. Congratulations to Ying Ying for finding a better home. Ning Ching sneered in his heart. This black-robed man obviously wanted to buy Ying to use as a cultivation furnace, as such Ying should have entered a pit of fire. This Zhu Jiao was so shameless, yet she still dared to say such things. The second one to appear is Noa Wei. Noa Wei has a dual support spiritual root, and is even more gentle and beautiful. If not to help Noa Wei find a better home, my Yi Shui courtyard would not be willing to let her go. In order to make Noa Wei even happier in the future, we will only list the price at 1,500 spirit stones. After Zhu Jiao pretended to say something, the crystal curtain behind her automatically opened. Appearing in front of the crowd was a beautiful woman wearing a blue robe. This woman did not look tall, but it gave people a feeling that she was slender. It could be assumed that her temperament was quite good. But what made Ning Ching puzzled was that Noa Wei's face had a very natural smile on it. It was completely different from Ying Ying's previous expression. It seemed that she really wanted to be listed for sale, 2,000 spirit stones. A young man sitting in the second row suddenly made an offer. Ning Ching at this time discovered that Noa Wei was looking at this young man with a very gentle look in her eyes. He immediately knew that this young man was the same as Tai Shu Shi, and was specifically here to take away Noa Wei. I bid 2,200 spirit stones. The black-robed man who had previously bid for Ying Ying once again made an offer. When the young man heard this offer, his complexion immediately changed, but he immediately said in a deep voice, 2,300 spirit stones. I bid 2,500 spirit stones. This black-robed man who had already bought a female cultivator seemed to be very rich, and did not hesitate to increase the price. Ning Ching had already seen it. This black-robed man did not seem to want a furnace, but rather wanted a female cultivator to help him cultivate a certain cultivation method, so it seems that he did not want a single female cultivator. Generally, most of the women who had spiritual roots and cultivated were either taken away by the academies or some small sects, so this person came to the Yi Shui courtyard to buy a female cultivator. It really was a shortcut. Ning Ching secretly sighed in his heart. If this was really the case, then if these female cultivators were bought by this person, then their fate would be even more miserable than being used as a furnace. I bid 2,600 spirit stones. Senior, Noa Wei is a woman that I admire. I ask the senior to be lenient. The young man's tone was very polite. Compared to the white fat man from before, he was much better. At least he did not use the fact that he was the XXX of the Shijia city to threaten others. The black-robed man glanced at the young man, and suddenly said, "Who do you think you are?" 3,000 spirit stones. Elder brother Sun, you have already bought one, leave this one for me. From another corner, a gray-robed man suddenly stood up. He first bid, and then politely cupped his fists towards the black-robed man who had already bought Ying Ying, and was still competing for Noa Wei. The black-robed man who had already bought Ying Ying coldly snorted and said, "I recently need a few female cultivators. I will not buy them again next time. If you want to compete with me, Sun Shun, then you will be my mortal enemy." Finished speaking, the black-robed man called Sun Shun once again called out a price, 3,100 spirit stones. The gray-robed man who bid 3,000 spirit stones seemed to be afraid of this Sun Shun, frowned, and finally did not continue to increase the price. The face of the youth sitting in the second row who had first bid suddenly changed. He only had at most 2,800 spirit stones on him. Originally he thought that it would be enough, but he did not expect that Noa Wei's price would quickly rise to 3,100 spirit stones. He looked at the white fat man who still had blood on his face, and finally did not continue to speak. Seeing that the man who wanted to redeem her did not increase the price, Noa Wei finally felt that something was wrong. Her face instantly turned pale. The time that they had stayed in this kind of place was not just 1 or 2 days. As such, they had long heard about some strange cultivators who used female cultivators for their cultivation. Now that this black-robed man called Sun Shun had already bought Ying Ying, and now he wanted to buy her again, it was obvious that he wanted to use female cultivators for his cultivation. Once she fell into the hands of such a person, then she could only pray that she would die a quick death. Meng Lang, you increase the price. Quickly increase the price. I beg you to increase the price. Noa Wei finally could not sit still, as she almost cried out on the high platform. Her voice was sad, and made people endlessly worried. Unfortunately, her Meng Lang not only did not increase the price, but instead lowered his head. Zhu Jiao suddenly frowned, and gave a cold snort. Nuo Wei, on hearing this cold snort, subconsciously shuddered, and no longer dared to ask her Meng Lang to increase the price. Tai Shu Shi, who was sitting next to Ning Qing, sighed and said, "They are really too pitiful. If I had not met you, then Lian Yi would also be as pitiful as them." Ning Qing had not seen this kind of thing many times, as such he could not calmly watch these female cultivators fall into the pit of fire like the rest of the people. Even if these female cultivators were prostitutes, he still could not remain calm. At this point of time he was clenching his fists so hard that water almost came out, but unfortunately he could not help them in any way. He could only watch the black-robed man called Sun Shun use 3,100 spirit stones, as he once again bought Nuo Wei. Then, just like what Sun Shun said, the third and fifth women were bought by him. The fourth, sixth and seventh women were bought by the rest of the people. These three beautiful sisters of the Yishui courtyard did not know whether it was because Sun Shun did not like them, or because their qualifications did not meet his requirements, but he did not bid for them. But as long as he bid for them, they would all be bought by him. The young masters in the 2 rows in front of him had bid many times, but they were not successful even once. With the experience of the white-robed fatty, no one dared to continue to threaten these unidentified black-robed men, or these cultivators' hats that covered their faces. The 8th one to be listed is our Yishui courtyard's red card, Miss Lian Yi. Miss Lian Yi has a main spiritual root, moreover her appearance is also one of the most outstanding among the people listed. Miss Lian Yi's listed price is 2,000 low-grade spirit stones. The guests who like Miss Lian Yi, please make your move. The earlier you make your move, the earlier you make your move. After the crystal curtain behind Zhu Jiao was pulled open, a tall woman with a pale face appeared. This woman had long hair, and was even more beautiful than the 7 people in front of her. Not only that, this woman's cultivation level was the highest so far. She was already at Qi Gathering 5th level. Ning Qing secretly praised Tai Shu Shi's vision. This female cultivator was really good. I bid 2,500 low-grade spirit stones. The black-robed man Sun Shun was the first to bid. Tai Shu Shi immediately increased the price, 3,000 spirit stones. As if she heard Tai Shu Shi's voice, Lian Yi looked up in surprise, and then she saw Tai Shu Shi. Her eyes immediately revealed a fiery light, even her pale face turned a little rosy. 3,500 spirit stones, this woman called Lian Yi is mine. Who dares to increase the price? Sun Shun's tone became cold, while his eyes swept towards Tai Shu Shi with a killing intent. This kind of killing intent was almost tangible. Tai Shu Shi immediately felt it. At the same time he also understood that Sun Shun was definitely not at the Qi Gathering 8th level, but rather a cultivator at the true condensation realm. After he felt that Sun Shun was a cultivator in the true condensation realm, Tai Shu Shi's face immediately turned ugly. He even paused for a moment. He did not know if he should continue to increase the price. If he continued to raise the price, Fatty Bai's mistake was not far away. Not only would he not be able to take away Lian Yi, but he would also implicate Ning Qing. Ning Qing looked at Tai Shu Shi's face and expression, and knew that Tai Shu Shi was shocked by Sun Shun's cultivation level and killing intent. He quoted without hesitation, 4,000 spirit stones. Good, you have guts, you actually dare to snatch a woman from me, Sun Shun. As Sun Shun spoke, his entire body once again surged with a murderous aura. At the same time his figure once again rushed out, as he directly slapped Ning Cheng's face. Ning Cheng was a cultivator at Qi Gathering 9th level. In his eyes, he was just like an ant. Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you grumble in front of me? Ning Cheng was well aware of the importance of imposing manner. As such he used Sun Shun's words to ridicule him, before he similarly flew up, and then punched out with his fist. Chapter 71. Other people's fists would go straight out, but Ning Cheng's fist was chopped out. This fist chopped out, it was like a huge axe chopping down, filled with an overflowing killing intent. This was not a punch, it was almost like an axe chopping down. The axe fist directly dispersed Sun Shun's killing intent, but the axe fist did not even slow down, and still fell down. Bang! A muffled sound was heard. Ning Cheng's fist directly blew away Sun Shun's palm. Because Sun Shun did not put the chi-gathering realm Ning Cheng in his eyes, he did not use his full strength in this slap. In his view, this slap was enough to knock out all of Ning Cheng's teeth. But he did not think that Ning Cheng's imposing manner would be so powerful. He wanted to gather his true essence, but it was already too late, and could only retreat. Ning Cheng saw through Sun Shun's thoughts. After the axe fist blew away Sun Shun, while Sun Shun was retreating, he once again sent out a kick. This kick landed solidly on Sun Shun's chest, and directly kicked Sun Shun back. It looked like Sun Shun was sent flying by Ning Cheng's kick, but in fact, Sun Shun was not injured at all, he was just taking advantage of the situation. But on the surface, Sun Shun wanted to teach Ning Cheng a lesson, but the result was that Ning Cheng taught him a lesson, and even kicked him away. Losing such a big face, Sun Shun's face turned red with anger, but at the same time he also felt a bit of fear towards Ning Cheng. He and Ning Cheng had just fought in a hurry, but he already knew that Ning Cheng was not an ordinary chi-gathering cultivator. Xiao, a red flying sword appeared in Sun Shun's hands. At the same time his imposing manner skyrocketed. It seems that he wanted to fight with Ning Cheng again. Zhu Jiao, who had been indulging, finally could not help but said, "If the two guests want to fight, then please leave this room, and go outside to fight. This is the Yi Shui courtyard's listed room. If everyone did this, then my Yi Shui courtyard would no longer exist." This sentence was a combination of carrot and stick. Sun Shun's face turned blue. He finally stared at Ning Cheng and coldly snorted, "Good, good, today I, Sun Shun, will see how you leave Shijia City." Ning Cheng patted his clothes that did not have any wrinkles, and indifferently replied, "I, your father, will still say the same words, you are nothing." He and Sun Shun exchanged a few moves. He knew that this person's cultivation level was only equivalent to Xiong Qi Hua. If he used his full strength, he was not afraid of this Sun Shun at all. Ning Cheng also guessed that there was someone behind this Sun Shun. He believed that this person would not even bother to find someone to deal with him, and would definitely stop him outside the Shijia city. As long as he killed Sun Shun outside of Shijia city, he would immediately leave. Afterwards, even if people knew about it, he would have already left the Shijia city. Seeing Ning Cheng teach a lesson to the incomparably arrogant black-robed man Sun Shun, no one in the room dared to continue to increase the price. Ning Cheng used 4,000 spirit stones to buy Lien Yi back. Tai Shu even forgot that Lien Yi had come over, and still spoke with excitement, "Big brother, good skill, good job." "Sure too." It was not until Lien Yi called out in a trembling voice that Tai Shu came to his senses. He immediately stood up, grabbed Lien Yi's hands and spoke, "Lien Yi, you can rest assured, I will never let you come to such a place again." Lien Yi had been in a place like the Yi Shui courtyard all year round, as such her eyes were not something that Tai Shu could compare to. She already knew from Tai Shu how to address Ning Cheng, as such she gave a bow to Ning Cheng and spoke, "Many thanks big brother for helping me redeem Lien Yi." Tai Shu was in a very good mood, and immediately said, let's go out and talk about it." At this time Zhu Jiao once again called out from the stage, "Congratulations to Lien Yi for returning to the side of her beloved. The happiest thing about my Yi Shui courtyard is this kind of thing." The next one to appear on stage is the youngest girl in the history of my Yi Shui courtyard. She is only 18 years old, Miss Han Yu. Han Yu is very considerate, delicate and charming, although she has 3 spiritual roots, but she has a main spiritual root. If not to thank the guests who came to my Yi Shui courtyard to participate in the unveiling, we really would not be willing to hang up such an outstanding girl like Han Yu. Miss Han Yu's listed price is also 2,000 low-grade spirit stones. As Zhu Jiao finished speaking, the crystal curtain rolled up, and a short-haired woman appeared. This woman was indeed as Zhu Jiao said, she was delicate and charming, but her eyes seemed to have a trace of decisiveness, and her face was extremely calm. Sure enough, it was Lu Hanyu. Ning Cheng secretly sighed in his heart. He did not know when Lu Hanyu's hair had been cut off, but her eyes showed that she was ready to die. But she had underestimated the people who bought these female cultivators. Once they bought them, even if they wanted to die, they would not be able to do so. I bid 2,100 spirit stones. Someone immediately began to bid 2,200 spirit stones, 2,300 spirit stones. The price soon rose to 2,500 spirit stones. Sun Shun coldly stared at Ning Cheng, and suddenly said in a loud voice, 3,000 spirit stones. As soon as Sun Shun called out his price, the surrounding voices instantly cooled down, 3,100 spirit stones. As soon as Ning Cheng called out his price, the surrounding people immediately knew that it had come again. This young man who was carrying a spear on his back, did not seem to fear Sun Shun. Not only did he not fear him, he even wanted to go against him. Sun Shun's face sank. He suddenly stood up and said, "Kid, who are you, daring to go against this Sun everywhere? Go against you everywhere? Idiot, who do you think you are? Don't think too highly of yourself," Ning Cheng lightly said. He knew that Sun Shun was going to attack him, so he might as well thoroughly provoke this guy now. Very good. After Sun Shun heard Ning Cheng's words, he did not continue to bid, but instead sat down. The room was silent. A lot of people were very clear. It was not because Sun Shun was afraid of Ning Cheng, but because he already regarded Ning Cheng as a dead man. He would not haggle with a dead man. Even if this dead man obtained many things, he would not be able to take them away. Sun Shun did not increase the price, and no one would come to snatch Lu Hanyu from Ning Cheng. Lu Hanyu finally understood that Ning Cheng had come to redeem her. At this moment she tightly covered her mouth with her hand. She could not believe it. A person she had only met once, would use more than 3,000 spirit stones to redeem her. At this moment, the will to die in her eyes disappeared without a trace, and in her eyes was a pleasant surprise. In the eyes of others, it was certain that Ning Cheng had taken a fancy to her, and wanted to redeem her to serve him. Only Lu Hanyu was clear, that Ning Cheng absolutely did not take a fancy to her, but really came to redeem her. There was no reason for this, it was just a kind of intuition. Big brother Ning, I did not think that you would come to redeem me. Lu Hanyu, who was sent to Ning Cheng and Tai Shu still could not believe that this was true. Knowing each other is predestined. Ning Cheng indicated that Lu Hanyu did not need to take this matter to heart. Then he took out the spirit stones and handed them over to the Yi Shui courtyard. After Ning Cheng handed over the spirit stones, he immediately turned to Tai Shu, Lian, Yi and Lu Hanyu and said, "We will leave immediately." Tai Shu understood the meaning of Ning Cheng's words, and gave Lian, Yi a meaningful glance. Lian, Yi and Lu Hanyu had been in this kind of place for a long time, so they did not need to be reminded, they already understood their situation. Without saying a word, they quickly followed Ning Cheng and Tai Shu out of the room. Sun Shun looked at the four people leaving, and sneered. He also stood up, and along with the few female cultivators that he had bought, quickly followed them out. After the four people came out of the Shijia city, they ran all the way. But Lu Hanyu and Lian Yi's cultivation was too low, and could not increase their speed. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng finally stopped. He knew that Sun Shun had caught up, and guessed that he wanted to make a move here. If it was only the two of them, then there was still a way to escape, but with Lu Hanyu and Lian Yi, they absolutely could not escape. When the other three people saw Ning Cheng stop, they also stopped. Tai Shu knew that Sun Shun had the cultivation of true condensation realm, and asked with some worry, "Big brother, that guy has caught up, what should we do?" Ning Cheng took out a bag and handed it to Tai Shu and said, "Stone, inside there is a simple map to the Hua continent, and also some spirit stones. You take Lian, Yi and Lu Hanyu and go first, I will come later. If we do not meet up in 3 days, then we will meet again in the Hua continent." When Tai Shu heard Ning Cheng's words, he immediately knew what Ning Cheng wanted to do. He wanted to block Sun Shun for the few people, and let the three of them go first. How can that be? If you want to fight, then let's fight together. I am also a Qi gathering 9th level cultivator. Tai Shu refused without hesitation. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile and said, I have killed a true condensation 5th level cultivator. That Sun Shun was just a trivial true condensation 2nd level cultivator. I really did not put him in my eyes. You staying here would only delay our time. You also know the reason, letting you go first, is just to speed up the process of leaving this place. When Ning Cheng said that he had killed a true condensation 5th level cultivator, Tai Shu sure was not surprised. In the Ping continent and the Yuan continent, most of the true condensation cultivators cultivated incomplete cultivation methods, and did not pay attention to the cultivation of spiritual sense. Ning Cheng cultivated a complete cultivation method, so it was really possible. But he always felt that something was not right. As for what was wrong, he could not say it. Let's go, I am alone, you do not have to worry about me. Ning Cheng went up and patted Tai Shu's shoulder. Tai Shu was very straightforward. Seeing that Ning Cheng was so confident, he also nodded and put away the things that Ning Cheng had handed to him and said, Good, then we will go first. Lu Hanyu walked to Ning Cheng's side. She had not even started to speak, when Ning Cheng gave a sunny smile and said, Congratulations to Miss Hanyu for leaving the Yi Shui courtyard. I also thank you for the spiritual tea that you gave me last time. Perhaps I would never be able to drink that kind of good tea again. Lu Hanyu did not answer his question and said, I understand, you take care of yourself. Saying that, she gave a bow to Ning Cheng. She certainly understood, the reason why Ning Cheng saved her was because of the spiritual tea, and not because he had taken a fancy to her. But that spiritual tea was indeed the most precious thing that she had. No one knew, that cup of spiritual tea, the value of it was many times more precious than the spirit stones that Ning Cheng had taken out. For her, the most precious thing was not the spiritual tea itself. Chapter 72. After Tai Shu and the others left, Ning Cheng arranged an array formation in the same place as fast as he could. The array formation had just been arranged, when, swish, a blue-colored airship-type artifact landed not far away from Ning Cheng. Sun Shun coldly glanced at the place where Tai Shu and the other two people disappeared, and then calmly got down from the airship. It seemed that he was not in a hurry at all. There were also 4 women in the airship. These 4 women were bought by Sun Shun from the Yi Shui courtyard. Ning Cheng stared at Sun Shun's blue-colored airship, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This fellow was very rich, even his airship was unexpectedly a medium-grade artifact. Idiot, it really is a good idea. You can stop me for a moment, and then the other 3 can escape first, ha ha ha. Sun Shun looked at Ning Cheng and laughed, but his eyes did not have even half a trace of a smile. In the Shijia city, if I, Sun Shun, want to kill someone, there has never been an exception. While speaking, a red flying sword appeared in his hand. It was the red flying sword that he had brought out in the Yi Shui courtyard. Ning Cheng patted his back, and the broken spear also fell into his hands. Not waiting for Sun Shun to continue speaking, Ning Cheng turned towards the 4 women on the airship and spoke, Now I have an opportunity. I want to fight with this fellow who uses women to cultivate. I'm sure that this fellow does not have the time to look for you. If you don't want to be a coward and become a cauldron, then leave by yourself. Sun Shun was shocked when he heard this. He did not think that Ning Cheng would not only snatch Lien, Yi and Lu Hanyu from his hands, but also dare to encourage the women he had already bought to escape. He looked back at the 4 women who seemed to be really interested in him, and suddenly laughed out loud and said, I, your father, was able to catch that Tai Shu who had escaped, so why would I be afraid of the people on my airship escaping? You should think about how to die first, because you'll soon realize that it's impossible for you to die even if you want to. Just as Sun Shun finished speaking, the red flying sword in his hands immediately covered Ning Cheng with a red curtain, revealing his cultivation of true condensation 2nd level without a doubt. Ning Cheng knew that Sun Shun was absolutely not someone that the ordinary true condensation cultivators of the Ping continent could be compared to. He was also a person that cultivated a complete cultivation method. Looking at the way he controlled the flying sword, he knew that his spiritual sense was not bad. Otherwise, he would not have been able to control the airship to chase them here. Moreover, he would not have the confidence to catch up with Tai Shu and the others. Ning Cheng's hand shook, and the blue cloth wrapped around the long spear was torn apart, revealing the broken long spear. He casually waved his spear and brought out a spear light. Just before the spear's shadows and the red sword curtain collided with each other, Ning Chen once again spoke up, "The opportunity to live is something that you have to fight for yourself. Now that I have given you a chance to live, yet you chose not to take it. You deserve it in the future." Listening to Ning Cheng's words, and seeing the might of Ning Cheng and Sun Shun, the four women who were still hesitating on the airship finally no longer hesitated, and jumped down from the airship one after another. They did not even have the time to say thank you words, as they scattered in all directions, disappearing in just a blink of an eye. Sun Shun, on seeing that Ning Cheng had really succeeded in encouraging his women to escape, immediately became so angry that he almost vomited blood. He was not worried that these women would be able to escape, he was angry because a Chi-gathering 9th level ant had told them to escape, but these idiots really believed it. Now that he, Sun Shun, had bought them, how could they leave? Under the surge of anger, the red sword curtain became even more murderous. He wanted to kill Ning Cheng in the first moment, and then capture those cheap women one by one, and let them know the fate of betraying him, Sun Shun. Sun Shun quickly came to his senses, his sword curtain did not as he had expected, Ning Cheng's spear would be blown away, and then bound Ning Cheng and sent him in front of him. Ning Cheng's spear shadows had a total of 12, when these 12 spear shadows came out, they were scattered all over the place. But in the middle of these 12 spear shadows, they quickly formed an ice line that was invisible to the naked eye, and these ice lines instantly connected the spear shadows. Finally, even these 12 spear shadows were linked together, forming an ice-cold spear net. Ka 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 ka. After a burst of intensive crisp sounds, the red sword curtain completely disappeared, leaving only a flying sword exposed under the ice-cold spear net, but the spear shadows were still as fierce as before. If one had to say that something was blocked by his sword curtain, then it should be that the ice in the middle of the spear net had weakened, and was unable to continue to form the ice-cold spear net. You actually have a profound grade spear technique. Sun Shun came to understand. Ning Cheng cultivated a complete cultivation method, as such he did not find it strange that he had a spiritual sense. He also cultivated a complete cultivation method, so when he was in the Chi-gathering realm, he was also able to control a flying sword to fight against the enemy. Ning Cheng was able to break his sword curtain, and even had the absolute upper hand, not because his cultivation level was much higher than his, but because it was a profound grade spear technique. Puff puff. Several bloody lights shot out from Sun Shun's body. Sun Shun did not think that Ning Cheng would have a profound grade spear technique, even if he finally knew about it, and tried his best to remedy it, but he was still pierced by several spear shadows. He did not fear Ning Cheng because of this, instead he took out a pill and threw it into his mouth, and then stuck out his tongue to lick the blood that splashed on his chin. At this time in his eyes there was a kind of crazy heat, he completely forgot about the few women who had escaped. No woman could be more important than a profound grade spear technique, what he wanted was the profound grade spear technique on Ning Cheng's body. Sun Shun did not continue to bring out his flying sword, but rather he patted the storage bag on his waist, and suddenly a moldy copper coin appeared in his hands. Go to hell for me. Sun Shun's mouth showed a trace of sarcasm, as he brought out the copper coin in his hands. This copper coin instantly turned into a huge square hole the size of a dustpan. The next moment, the surrounding air seemed to be driven by this copper coin, and seemed to stagnate. Ning Cheng felt his hands sink, the broken spear in his hands also seemed to have become a lot heavier. Ning Cheng immediately knew that there should be a problem with the copper coin that Sun Shun had just brought out. He forcibly gathered his chi, and wanted to once again shoot out his 36 profound ice spear technique. But his 36 profound ice spear technique had just gathered its spear force, when he felt his hands go numb, the broken spear in his hands unexpectedly could not be held, and was directly swept away by a powerful force from the surroundings. The next moment he saw that the square copper coin had passed through the long spear, and directly sent the long spear flying. When the long spear left his hands, the heavy feeling in Ning Cheng's hands also instantly disappeared. Sun Shun's nostrils issued a sneer, the red flying sword once again brought out 3 sword lights. Two of the sword lights completely sealed off Ning Cheng's retreat, while the third sword light came towards Ning Cheng's waist, wanting to cut Ning Cheng's waist in half. The sword light was incomparably fast. In a hurry he had lost his long spear. Ning Cheng simply did not have any leeway to block it. At this time what Ning Cheng wanted the most was a defensive magical weapon. If he had a defensive magical weapon, then he would not have to worry about the sword light that was coming towards him. He could choose to rush towards the opponent. Sun Shun's face was also extremely pale. Even the sword light was somewhat trembling. It was obvious that he needed a lot of true essence to control that copper coin. Seeing that the sword light was about to cut through his waist, Ning Cheng immediately sent out an axe fist. The axe fist blocked the sword light for a moment. The sword light eased a lot, the killing force also subsided a lot, but it still fell on Ning Cheng's waist. Sun Shun was secretly relieved. He absolutely did not want Ning Cheng to die so quickly, but Ning Cheng's fierceness was beyond his expectations. Now facing his sword light, even if the opponent was even more ruthless, the only fate that awaited him was to be cut in half. Chi, the sound of leather being cut resounded. Ning Cheng crazily spat out a mouthful of blood, but did not retreat. Sun Shun looked at the intact Ning Cheng, and the exposed armor on Ning Cheng's waist. He immediately knew what was going on. Even if at this time his true essence was almost exhausted, he once again gathered his flying sword, and wanted to attack Ning Cheng once again. At the same time that the broken spear in Ning Cheng's hands was swept away, he immediately brought out his 7 Pleiades ice needle. But his 7 Pleiades ice needle had not even had the time to attack the enemy, when it was cut by the sword light. This was also the first time that he had encountered such a situation. It was because he did not have enough experience against the enemy. Now that he knew that the copper coin was the culprit that had swept away his broken spear, how could he wait for the opposite party to attack again? At the same time that Sun Shun brought out his flying sword, the 7 Pleiades ice needle had already crossed the distance between the two of them. When the 7 Pleiades ice needle pierced through Sun Shun's chest, Sun Shun knew that he had been plotted against, and immediately cried out in horror, "How is this possible? Why did my 5 elements treasure fall copper coin not drop this artifact?" A formidable destructive force wreaked havoc in his body. Sun Shun thoroughly understood. If he did not call for help, then he would have fallen here today. A bright red light came out from his hand. This light was just like a meteor, as it shot out from Sun Shun's hand. What's going on? Sun Shun saw that the bright red light that was calling for help seemed to have met with some kind of obstruction, and was only able to shoot for less than 10 feet, when it was blocked. Ning Cheng drove the 7 Pleiades ice needle into Sun Shun's body, and Sun Shun's eyes immediately lost their luster. He was still staring at Ning Cheng. He really could not figure out, why would he fall in the hands of a chi-gathering realm kid? "I am just a small array formation master. Before you came, I had already arranged a small array formation, to block some shameless people from calling for help, idiot," Ning Cheng said as he punched out. Sun Shun was directly blown away by Ning Cheng's punch, and when he fell down again, he was already a corpse. Only then did the dazzling red light that was blocked by the array formation fall down and slowly dissipate into thin air. Chapter 73. Ning Cheng quickly put away everything that he could put away. Even the airship-type artifact was simply refined by him before he put it into his storage bag, before he quickly left. Originally Ning Cheng and Tai Shu Shi had an appointment to meet in 3 days. He was worried that Sun Shun would ask for help. Once the opponent was too strong, Ning Cheng even planned to escape to the Dawn Forest. Now that Sun Shun was killed by him, and the distress signal had not been sent out, it made Ning Cheng feel relieved. He had not been separated from Tai Shu Shi for a long time, so he thought that he would soon be able to catch up with them. But after 2 hours, Ning Cheng stopped, as he felt that something was wrong. He had obviously followed the trail of Tai Shu Shi, but after arriving here, he found that there was no trace of him at all. Ning Cheng once again searched the place where Tai Shu Shi had disappeared several times, but was still not able to find even half a clue. Half a day later, Ning Cheng left the place. He decided to go to the edge of the Thunder Fall Desert to wait. He had given the map to Tai Shu Shi. if Tai Shu Shi wanted to go through the desert to the Hua continent, then he would have to go through the entrance marked on the map. From the Yuan continent to the Hua continent, one must pass through the Thunder Fall Desert, whether you fly or walk. Outside the Thunder Fall Desert, there were 3 small towns, Thunder Fall Town, Moon Sand Town and Firefly Town. Among these 3 towns, the largest and most lively town was the Thunder Fall Town. Every year, there were countless cultivators that entered the Thunder Fall Desert from the Thunder Fall Town. Other than a very small number of people who wanted to search for treasures in the Thunder Fall Desert, most of the people wanted to pass through the Thunder Fall Desert to enter the Hua continent. In fact, there were very few people who could pass through the Thunder Fall Desert and enter the Hua continent. Most of the people died in the Thunder Fall Desert. For a long time, the Thunder Fall Desert was also known as the Falling Bone Desert. There were just too many white bones inside. Too many cultivators had fallen here. Even so, the number of people who entered the Thunder Fall Desert never stopped, one wave after another. According to the simple map that Ning Cheng had obtained from Ko Hong, he did not enter from the Thunder Fall Town, but rather from the Moon Sand Town. The Moon Sand Town was relatively remote, and the resources in the surrounding desert were less, far from the prosperity of the Thunder Fall Town. Ning Cheng rushed all the way, and a month later appeared outside the Moon Sand Town. In this 1 month, he did not even take out the storage bag of the black-robed man Sun Shun to check. The main reason was that he wanted to rush to the Moon Sand Town as soon as possible. Once he arrived at the Moon Sand Town, he could not only wait for Tai Shu Shi. If there was any problem, he could also escape to the Thunder Fall Desert at the first moment. Some of the tired adventurers came back from the outside, and just like Ning Cheng, stepped into the afterglow of the setting sun and entered the Moon Sand Town. Compared to the bustling Thunder Fall Town, the Moon Sand Town seemed somewhat desolate. Ning Cheng was sure that with his speed, Tai Shu Shi would definitely not arrive before him. He decided to wait for Tai Shu Shi in the Moon Sand Town, so that he could refine the 2 artifacts in his hands, and at the same time prepare to advance to the true condensation realm. Whether it was the moldy copper coin, or the medium-grade airship-type artifact, Ning Cheng was very much looking forward to them. Relatively speaking, he did not care about the red flying sword. Moon Sand Town's rest stop was as sparse as the passers-by. It was also sparse. Ning Cheng found a rest stop in an inconspicuous part of the town and stayed there. Cultivators like Ning Cheng were everywhere in the Moon Sand Town. These cultivators would usually go out once every few months. When they came back, they would choose to go into closed-door cultivation. When their cultivation resources were exhausted, they would once again leave Moon Sand Town. And so on and so forth, until the day they die. Searching for cultivation resources in the Thunder Fall Desert, there were only a few people who did not die. Although they knew this, but this kind of life was still the choice of many rogue cultivators, or perhaps they simply did not have any other choice. The rest stop that Ning Cheng found was called Moon River Rest Stop. Even in the Moon Sand Town, the Moon River Rest Stop was a small and inconspicuous place. Living in this kind of place were the most destitute of the rogue cultivators. Ning Cheng did not care about it. After he entered the rest stop, he immediately put up the closed-door medallion, and simultaneously arranged a variety of array formations in the room, concealing spiritual array, defensive array. After arranging the array formations, Ning Cheng first took out the moldy copper coin. This copper coin was able to sweep away his spear-type artifact, which made Ning Cheng extremely surprised. If he did not have the 7 Pleiades ice needle and the inner armor, perhaps he would have been killed by that Sun Shun. The main reason for this was that he lacked experience in fighting against enemies, but the power of this moldy copper coin was beyond doubt. Refining this copper coin was extremely difficult. It took Ning Cheng 10 days, but he was only able to refine one of the layers of restrictions. At the same time, he also understood why Sun Shun had such a difficult time using this copper coin to sweep away his artifact. That Sun Shun at most had only refined 2 layers of restrictions. Coupled with his limited cultivation, it was extremely difficult for him to use it. This copper coin was called the 5 Elements Treasure Fall Copper Coin. No wonder his spear was taken away by this copper coin. It turned out to be a magical artifact that was specifically used to drop magical artifacts. This magical artifact was simply too heaven-defying. Unfortunately, this copper coin had a fatal flaw, that is, it could only drop magical artifacts of the 5 elements. The 7 Pleiades ice needle was refined from a tail needle. It was not within the 5 elements, as such this copper coin could not fall. In any case, this was definitely a treasure, moreover it was a good treasure. As for the other layers of restrictions, Ning Qing did not continue to refine them. He intended to wait until he had free time to refine the restrictions. Compared to the 5 elements treasure fall copper coin, this medium-grade airship-type artifact was much easier to refine. Ning Qing only spent half a day, and was able to refine this medium-grade airship-type artifact, while simultaneously taking this artifact as his own. Ning Qing also refined the red flying sword, and threw it into his own storage bag. He did not like flying sword-type artifacts. Ning Qing finally took out the black-robed man's storage bag. In the Yi Shui courtyard, Sun Shun was extremely generous, so Ning Qing was very much looking forward to his storage bag. Ning Qing did not spend much time refining this storage bag, but when his spiritual consciousness swept into the storage bag, he was immediately disappointed. According to the way Sun Shun spent his spirit stones, Ning Qing thought that his storage bag would have at least 30 to 40,000 spirit stones, but in fact, this storage bag only had about 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. This was also because the other party had not bought Lian, Yi and Lu Hanyu, otherwise, there would only be about 2,000 spirit stones in this storage bag. Inside the storage bag, there were a few bottles of pills, as well as a few jade strips. Ning Qing casually took out one of the jade strips, and swept it with his spiritual sense. It really was the same as what he had guessed. These jade strips recorded how to use female cultivators for cultivation. From this, it could be seen that this Sun Shun's master was not a good person. Sweeping the rest of the jade strips, he found that they all had the same type. Ning Qing directly brought out a ball of flame and burned these jade strips. He came from Earth, and could not accept that this kind of cultivation method existed in this world. After obtaining the 10,000 spirit stones, in addition to his own 1 or 2,000 spirit stones, Ning Qing decided to attack the true condensation realm. When he reached the true condensation realm, presumably Tai Shu Shi would also come to the Moon Sand Town. One by one, the spirit stones were turned into powder by Ning Qing, and the spiritual qi was blocked by the array formation that he had arranged, although there was still some spiritual qi that could not be blocked. But when the guests of the rest stop went into seclusion, the spiritual qi would circulate, so no one would find it strange. A month later, Ning Qing once again went out to purchase some food, and once again returned to his room. At this time, he was already at the Great Circle of Qi gathering 9th level, and was ready to advance to the true condensation realm. After taking the true condensation pill, the qi in his body immediately became restless. Ning Qing knew that the process of advancing to the true condensation realm was to transform his qi into true essence, so his heart was not in a hurry, and slowly revolved his cultivation method to transform his qi into true essence. He cultivated the complete cultivation method. When his qi was at the qi gathering 9th level, it had already begun to transform into true essence. Now with the help of the true condensation pill, it was not difficult for him to begin the transformation. As time passed by in Ning Cheng's closed-door cultivation, the pile of spirit stones around him was getting smaller and smaller. He did not know how much time had passed, but when Ning Cheng transformed all the qi in his meridians into true essence, the meridians in his body issued a burst of ka-ka sound. It seemed that at this moment, all the meridians had more than doubled in size. Phew, Ning Cheng took a deep breath, and suddenly stood up. Is this the true condensation realm? Ning Cheng had just advanced to the true condensation realm, and could feel the flow of true essence in his body that was several times more powerful than when he was at the qi gathering 9th level, and could not help but exclaim out loud. Before he reached the condensing reality realm, he always thought that the condensing reality realm was just so. After all, he was able to kill a condensing reality realm cultivator when he was only at the qi gathering realm. But when he reached the condensing reality realm, he realized that the difference between the condensing reality realm and the qi gathering realm was just too huge. The reason why he was able to kill Condensing Reality Realm warriors was that he had never met a real Condensing Reality Realm warrior before. If there was a Condensing Reality Realm warrior like him, how could a Chi-gathering realm warrior fight against him? The power of true essence was not something that true Chi could compare with. Calculating that he had already been in the Moon Sand Town for almost 2 months, but there was still no news of Tai Shu Shi. Ning Qing decided not to wait any longer. He wanted to enter the Thunder Fall Desert alone and go to the Hua continent. Ning Qing cleaned himself up and walked out of the rest stop. He was ready to leave some traces outside the Moon Sand Town. After Tai Shu Shi came to the Moon Sand Town, he knew that he had already been here. Ning Qing had just walked out of the town, when he saw a group of people gathered at the entrance of the town. These people seemed to be chattering enthusiastically. Ning Qing curiously squeezed his way in, only to find that there was a notice posted under the huge signboard outside the town. There was a huge portrait on the notice. It was his appearance, and he was carrying a spear on his back. The content of the notice was very clear. If someone got any news about the person in the portrait, they could immediately report it. The person who reported it could get a reward of 10,000 spirit stones. If they could catch the person in the portrait, they could get a reward of 100,000 spirit stones, regardless of whether they lived or died. Originally it was a warrant for his arrest. Ning Qing sneered in his heart. In this Moon Sand Town, wanting to catch him was simply a dream. Hey, it's him, he is the person on the warrant. At this time someone had already discovered Ning Qing, and immediately exclaimed out loud. With this exclamation, the surrounding people found that the wanted person was right in front of them. Some of the cultivators even took out their artifacts, but they did not dare to rush up and capture Ning Qing. Ning Qing's imposing manner clearly showed that they were not Ning Qing's opponent. If they tried to force their way up, they would only die. Spirit stones were good, but they also needed to be alive to enjoy it. Ning Qing brought out a flying sword. After stepping on the flying sword he did not immediately leave, but instead spoke in a clear voice. You go and tell the person who issued the warrant, that I killed Sun Shun, and that I will be back in a few years. But I will come back to kill him. Saying that, in front of the eyes of the crowd, Ning Qing disappeared without a trace. No one dared to chase after him. Chapter 74. In less than an hour, Ning Qing arrived at the edge of the Thunder Fall Desert. In front of his eyes was a dark yellow haze. It was as if there was a layer of yellow fog in front of him. His eyes could not see far. At the edge of the desert there was a huge boulder with a radius of 100 feet. This boulder was the entrance marked on the simple map that Ning Qing had obtained. Ning Qing did not hesitate, and directly stepped on his flying sword and rushed into the desert. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Ning Qing had no choice but to land his flying sword. Even if he had the cultivation of true condensation realm, the violent sandstorm in the Thunder Fall Desert made it impossible for him to control the position of his flying sword. Similarly, he was also unable to find a specific map mark in the desert. Ning Qing put away his flying sword, and instead sped up his pace. He had said that he would come back in the future to kill the person who wanted him, but at the moment he was far from being the opponent of this person. The faster he escaped the better. 3 days later, Ning Qing found the second mark on the simple map. It was a dead poplar tree. Ning Qing went to a huge poplar tree root and sat down. After running for 3 consecutive days in the desert, he also felt a little tired. Ning Qing had just sat down, when a terrible whistling sound came. Ning Qing quickly stood up again. A yellow dragon composed of fine sand rushed over. Its speed was incomparably fast. Ning Qing did not even have the leeway to resist, as he was directly swept away by the yellow dragon, and at the same time was sent flying by the yellow dragon. At this moment Ning Qing could only sigh in his heart at the crazy and terrifying nature. If he was an ordinary person, then he would have been directly swept to pieces by this yellow dragon. Ning Qing soon felt that something was wrong. This yellow dragon that was composed of yellow sand was like a tornado. After he was swept away by the yellow sand, it seemed as if his whole body was being swept away in a certain direction. Because he felt that something was wrong, Ning Qing remembered that he was already a cultivator at true condensation first level. A cultivator at true condensation first level should not be swept away by the yellow sand in the desert, right? As the yellow sand became more and more binding on him, the bad feeling in Ning Cheng's heart also became heavier and heavier. He had an intuition in his heart, that in the end, he would not even have the leeway to break free, and would be swept away to a place that he did not know. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng became anxious, and immediately punched out. This fist was the move that he had comprehended from the great axe's killing intent in the Dawn Forest. He did not have an axe, so he directly punched out with his fist. It turned out that the few times he used this fist axe, the effect seemed to be good. Bang! A sound similar to the explosion of leather resounded. Ning Cheng's fist directly blasted open a sand hole in the middle of the yellow dragon. Ning Cheng did not even think about it, as his entire body turned into a straight line as he passed through this sand hole. In the next moment, the yellow sand dragon had already disappeared into the distance with a rumbling sound. When Ning Cheng looked down, he discovered that other than the set of armor that the old woman from the Nan Yuan city had helped him to refine, the rest of the clothes on his body had completely disappeared. There were only countless scratches from the sand. So powerful! Ning Cheng exclaimed to himself, as he quickly took out a set of clothes and put it on. The Thunderfall Desert also had this kind of terrifying yellow dragon. If he did not come out of the yellow dragon in time, then what would the result be? At this time when the yellow dragon passed by, Ning Cheng found that he had already lost his way. Ning Cheng looked all around, and just wanted to see the specific location of the populous poplar tree. When he felt the ground loosening under his feet, he subconsciously flew up. At the place where he had just been standing, there appeared a huge whirlpool. This whirlpool sucked in all the sand around it, forming a funnel shape. An incomparably powerful suction force came. This force was very abrupt, and almost sucked Ning Cheng into the funnel whirlpool. Ning Cheng forcibly revolved his true essence. His whole body was like a sword, as he rushed towards the sand outside the whirlpool. After a few breaths, Ning Cheng landed on the sand, looking at the whirlpool in the distance that was getting bigger and bigger. This was the first time that he felt the terror of the Thunderfall Desert. If he was sucked into this whirlpool, then perhaps it would not take his life, but who knew what was inside this whirlpool? It seemed that he had to find the route that he had taken before, otherwise it would be very difficult for him to get out of the Thunderfall Desert. The route that he had taken before was certainly the safest route in the desert, otherwise he would not have met with danger for several consecutive days. Now that he had deviated from the original route that he had taken, he had encountered danger several times. If not for the passing yellow dragon taking him away, he should not have deviated from the original route. Ning Cheng was walking more and more carefully. At this time he was not looking for a way to reach the Hua continent, but rather to find the route that he had originally taken. Another 5 days passed by. Ning Cheng encountered more than a dozen different kinds of sand and stone whirlpools, but he was able to escape from them. Fortunately, he did not encounter that kind of sand and stone whirlpool a second time. Ning Cheng knew that this was not the way to go. If he continued like this, then sooner or later he would fall in this Thunderfall Desert. He stopped, although he did not know how to refine a positional array disk, but he could make a simple compass. Ning Cheng's compass had not yet been completed, when Ning Cheng detected a fishy smell in the air. Ning Cheng immediately grabbed the broken spear from behind. This fishy smell was definitely the smell of a monstrous beast. He knew that there were many monstrous beasts in the Thunder Sea Desert. Moreover, these monstrous beasts were in groups. Once he was surrounded by them, it would be difficult for him to escape. Sure enough, Ning Cheng had just grabbed the spear in his hands, when a cha-cha sound of grinding could be heard. When Ning Cheng saw the monstrous beasts in front of him, he almost froze. Countless monstrous beasts blotted out the sky as they rushed towards him. These monstrous beasts were so densely packed that he could not even see the end of them. Moreover, these monstrous beasts were rushing towards him in a three-dimensional formation. Not only were there some on the ground, there were even some that were flying in the air. Ning Cheng could imagine that there were also similar monstrous beasts under the sand and stones. These monstrous beasts were covered with sarcomas of different sizes, and looked to be only a foot long. Their sharp mouths were dripping with some turbid mucus. They looked extremely ugly and terrible. After the densely packed monstrous beasts saw Ning Cheng, they immediately swarmed towards him. Ning Cheng's scalp tingled. He had never seen such a disgusting scene before. He did not dare to hesitate for even half a moment. The spear in his hands immediately shot out a spear light. These spear lights formed a spear net, blocking the countless ugly monstrous beasts outside the spear net. There was an advantage to fighting with these monstrous beasts, that is, you only need to display your most powerful strength, you do not need to worry about being schemed against. A bloody mist spread out in front of the spear lights, as Ning Cheng's spear lights swept and killed these monstrous beasts. Ning Cheng could clearly see that the corpses of these monstrous beasts that he had killed were instantly devoured by their companions, and then the rest of the monstrous beasts continued to swarm towards him, as if they did not know what death was. The cultivation of these monstrous beasts was indeed not high, but even if it was not high, it would not be able to withstand such a large number. Batches after batches of monstrous beasts were killed by Ning Cheng, but batches after batches of the same monstrous beasts once again swarmed towards him. Not only that, these sand monstrous beasts also spewed out an unpleasant smell. As soon as Ning Cheng smelled this smell, he immediately felt uncomfortable, but fortunately, with the agitation of his true essence, this discomfort soon disappeared without a trace. For the entire day, Ning Cheng spent his time in the midst of killing. His 12 profound ice spear technique derived the 13th spear technique, the 14th spear technique, the 21st spear technique. Unfortunately, even if his spear techniques were getting more and more proficient, and the number of spear lights derived from it was also getting more and more, but his true essence was simply unable to keep up. He did not know how many of these sand monstrous beasts he had killed, but the number of monstrous beasts he had to face not only did not decrease, but instead increased. Ning Cheng's heart was filled with despair. If he had known that this would happen, then he would have rather been swept away by that yellow dragon. The situation in front of him, for him, was simply a dilemma. He simply had no way to get out of it. Whether it was in the air, on the surface of the sand, or under the sand, there were endless sand monstrous beasts. Just when Ning Cheng was thinking about whether the mysterious yellow bead within his body could help him or not, the seemingly endless monstrous beasts in the desert suddenly gave up on continuing to attack Ning Cheng, instead crazily fled from Ning Cheng's side. In just a short period of time, the densely packed monstrous beasts in the desert had completely disappeared. If not for the fine sand in the vicinity being dyed dark red, Ning Cheng would have thought that the scene from a moment ago was just an illusion. My luck is not that good, right? Ning Cheng could not believe it as he muttered to himself. Just when he was about to be killed by these sand monstrous beasts, these sand monstrous beasts suddenly inexplicably retreated. If this was not good luck, then what was it? You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.